Chapter 1244. Of course, the blood devil can't be compared to the yellow spring blood sea. Putting everything else aside, the blood demon's greatest ability in its blood form is to devour the power of life. Although it's strange and powerful, and can also transform into various forms, it's still far from the netherworld blood sea's ability to devour and fuse with Tao bodies. Moreover, when the yellow spring blood sea is cultivated to the extreme, it can activate several different divine abilities at the same time, which is something the blood devil can't compare to. The blood devil can't compare to the immortal blood spirit and the incomplete yellow spring divine Tao. The yellow spring great emperor can be said to be a rare genius. Unfortunately, he didn't live in the same era as me. Su Fang heaved a sigh of relief after hearing Law's words. Who knew that Law continued? This blood devil is equivalent to a peak immortal emperor expert. What realm are you at? Moreover, you're different from the other blood devils. This devil is a devil expert who was resurrected by the evil chi of the heavens and earth. In addition to the original divine ability of the blood devil, it might also have the ability to resurrect cultivators. It's a little troublesome. It seems like I can only let my second primordial spirit seize the body directly. With the supreme power of the second primordial spirit, it can suppress the primordial spirit of an immortal emperor expert. Although it's not easy to seize the body of a peak immortal emperor devil expert, it's not too difficult. Law's voice became serious. Don't think that your second primordial spirit is omnipotent just because it has become stronger. The great immortal world is so vast. There are so many supreme experts, supreme cultivation methods and Tao weapons. Many of them can't be solved by a powerful primordial spirit. For example, the Azure Devil and this Blood Devil. The Azure Devil has the Thunder Punishment Cauldron, so it's difficult for my second primordial spirit to seize his body. Why can't this Blood Devil do it? Isn't the primordial spirit of the devil race not that strong? That's because the Blood Devil is an anomaly in the devil race. They are born with a body of blood and water. They grow by devouring blood. They don't have the divine aperture of human cultivators, big goblin and other devil races. Their young immortal primordial spirit and their corporeal body are one and the same. Even if they kill the blood devil, their primordial spirit will also be destroyed. What? Su Fang sucked in a breath of cold air. The situation was not good. It was a complete reversal. However, your second primordial spirit is extremely powerful. It can suppress the blood demon and cause him a lot of trouble. Your river Styx blood sea, pure yang primordial fire, and illusory fire cloud are all effective against the sanguine demon. Furthermore, the sanguine demon tore through the enchantment seemingly effortlessly, but it has suffered significant injuries and its strength has been reduced. Combining you, the second primordial spirit, and the Kuan demon, it is not impossible for us to fight it. The only thing we have to be careful of is the Azure demon. The cauldron of thunder punishment is not that easy to deal with. Law's next words let Su Fang breathe a sigh of relief. At this moment, the Azure Devil laughed maniacally. His voice was filled with pride as he said, Su Fang, the Dark Jade Devil Emperor is here. Let's see if you can still be so arrogant. You are destined to become my powerful nutrient. Your Tao companion will also become my perfect body. Ha! Little Azure Devil, could it be that this little human cultivator injured you to this extent and even destroyed the barrier passage? The Blood Devil said eerily. The bloody light in his eyes swept across Su Fang's body, and the corner of his mouth curved into a disdainful smile. Then, he looked at Desolate, who was possessed by the second primordial spirit, and revealed a trace of surprise. The Desolate Devil was actually possessed. This is truly unbelievable. Which immortal sovereign's Yuan spirit are you? Immortal sovereign? What's the big deal? The second primordial spirit said coldly with supreme arrogance. An immortal emperor is nothing. If you came with your true body, I would immediately turn around and leave. Although the current you has the powerful primordial spirit of a desolate devil, with the body of a desolate devil, how much strength can you use to dare be so arrogant in front of me? A bloody tongue came out of the corner of the blood devil's mouth with a swoosh. It swept across his face and let out a voice filled with disdain. Senior, given the current situation, we can only fight with our lives on the line. Can Senior still continue the battle? Su Fong secretly asked Kuan Demon. If Kuan Demon was in his peak state, he might be able to fight this blood devil. At this moment, Su Fong was very worried. Kuan Demon said in an arrogant and domineering voice, "It's an honor to be able to fight a peak immortal emperor expert." Su Fong couldn't help but admire. Kuan Demon then said with his Yuan spirit, "Su Fong, my Kuan Peng race is almost extinct in the great immortal world. If I die in this battle, you must take good care of the little fellow of the Kuan Peng race. If you can bring him to the myriad of worlds one day, forget about this. Just take good care of the little fellow. Senior, don't worry. Green Feather King is my relative. Even if Senior didn't remind me, I will take good care of him. Moreover, there will be a day when I will ascend to the myriad of worlds with Green Feather King." Then, Su Fong contacted the second primordial spirit. Second primordial spirit, remember not to possess this blood devil. Just suppress him with your Yuan spirit. Got it. The second primordial spirit replied. Glancing at the big goblin, junior commanders, and the experts, Su Fong ordered, Banmo Monarch, Great Monk, Dai Yong, the Ghost Dao's 5 freaks, Mao Chong, Green Feather King, Vermilion Emperor, and Sister Bai, you are in charge of dealing with Song Mo. Remember, don't let him have the chance to activate the Cauldron of Lightning punishment. If there is a chance, kill him and save Xuanxin. The other experts, Big Goblin, and junior commanders are in charge of dealing with the other Devil Race and Devil Dao cultivators. Yes. The enemy they encountered this time was unprecedentedly strong. It made all the experts and Big Goblin nervous. However, being able to fight a immortal Emperor expert made their blood boil. The experts, Big Goblin, and close to 30,000 junior commanders were all excited. Even the great monk Shangde, who had always been timid and afraid of death, was influenced by the others and was eager to try. As for Fairy Li and the human cultivators who were just rescued, because the shackles left in their bodies by the devil race had not been removed, their combat power was almost negligible. They were not of any use at all. Instead, they were a burden. After obtaining the agreement of the cultivators, Su Fong directly put them all into the yellow spring Great Emperor's bottle. Humans, are you ready for your final struggle? I used to love hearing the despair and painful wails of humans. Such human cultivators are more delicious to devour. I didn't expect that I would be able to enjoy a feast of human blood as soon as I was resurrected. The blood demon laughed wildly. His body collapsed and turned into a bloody water state. Its surface area reached an astonishing 3,000 feet. It rolled up and down like a wave, carrying an aura of destruction and devouring everything. Different from Su Fong's yellow spring blood sea, the bloody water transformed by the blood demon did not have the vitality of Su Fong's incarnation. Instead, it was eerie and dark green. It also carried a strong smell of blood, death, and hostility. Whoosh! The blood surged and turned into a 30-meter-tall bloodman. He looked down at Su Fong and the others and said in an arrogant voice, "Humans, howl and struggle in this emperor's body. Become this emperor's nutrients." The bloody water moved forward rapidly. When it was more than 100 feet away from Su Fong, it shattered and set off a bloody wave. It covered Su Fong and the others with a monstrous aura. A divine power full of blood and death aura shrouded all directions, as if it could devour everything in this space. What a terrifying blood demon! Let's see how you can still be so arrogant. Sky-ripping storm. The Kuan demon transformed into a huge Kuan Peng demon body. It flapped its wings with all its might and exploded with a shocking aura of tearing the void. It stirred up the space and set off a chaotic spacetime airflow. It condensed into a turbulent wind blade the size of a millstone and flew out. Although the Koan demon, who had spatial talent, had lost a lot of its strength, it was still very powerful. The blood demon's aura was torn apart and shattered like a rag being torn by the wind. Even the bloody man on the bloody water was torn into a bloody pulp by the turbulent wind. In the next second, the blood demon's maniacal laughter came from the bloody pulp. Koan demon, although your talent is not bad, it is a pity that you are old. If you were at your peak, this emperor might still be afraid of you. Now your strongest attack is just scratching this emperor's itch. Destroy the blood cloud. Huff, the bloody pulp tumbled and turned into a huge bloody cloud, enveloping the Koan demon's huge body. Sizzle, the Koan demon's demon body was rapidly corroded by the bloody cloud, turning into a bloody aura that was devoured by the bloody cloud. It turned out that the blood demon's blood cloud was not only able to devour the enemy's bloody aura, but it also had a shocking corpse poison that was similar to a resurrected cultivator. Its toxicity was about the same as a corpse sovereign's. Chi. A demonic whip that was pierced by white skulls burst out with a twisting aura as it charged towards the bloody cloud. It turned out that the second essence soul that had taken over Desolate Devil's body had activated the demonic artifact to attack. Sizzle, the demonic whip's aura tore a hole in the bloody cloud. The skulls that formed the demonic whip suddenly spewed out demonic light, sucking in a large amount of the bloody cloud into their mouth. The thick bloody cloud suddenly became thinner. The Koan demon took the chance to use his divine ability to break free from the bloody cloud. You dare to absorb this emperor's body? You're courting death. Explode for this emperor. Suddenly, traces of blood clouds appeared from the skull, and cracks quickly appeared on the skull. Following that, it swelled and brewed, and with a rumble, it exploded and shattered. One of the Desolate Devil's top-quality demon equipment was actually destroyed by the blood demon just like that. Blood cloud rain, destroy all directions. This was not the end. The bloody cloud condensed and turned into drops of blood. It gathered into a bloody rain and fell towards Desolate Devil's body that was being possessed by the second essence soul. Desolate Devil's defensive chi field was shattered and his body was stained with the bloody rain. The powerful body of the immortal Emperor-level devil expert was actually corroded. Large chunks of it fell off and turned into a part of the bloody rain. Chi Desolate Devil's eyes released a distorted gray light, releasing a supreme primordial spirit divine might, sweeping out, setting off a primordial spirit astral wind. The rain of blood seemed to be swept away by a gale, condensing with a whoosh, once again transforming into a blood man. What a powerful primordial spirit, to actually be able to suppress this emperor's supreme blood demon divine ability. The bloody person's eyes flashed with a strange bloody light. Blood also surged in his body as he praised. I almost killed you, the second essence soul said coldly. Then, it came out of Desolate Devil's body and arrived in front of Su Fong. Su Fong directly released the corpse emperor. After being possessed by the second essence soul, Desolate Devil's body could no longer be used. Furthermore, the second essence soul possessed the corpse emperor's body, so it was not afraid of being devoured by the blood demon. The Koan demon also transformed into his human form and arrived in front of Su Fong. After a series of probing attacks, although the losses were not small, they still found out some details about the blood demon. Human cultivator, it seems like that powerful primordial spirit, the Koan demon, and those human experts with decent strength, the big goblin, are all led by you. This really surprises this emperor. Only then did the blood demon seriously size up Su Fong, appearing to be very surprised. For a Yuxian realm cultivator to be able to control such a powerful force, you are very extraordinary. If you submit to this emperor, not only will this emperor allow you to live, I will also promise you that if you contribute to the devil race in the future, when the devil race sweeps through the immortal Tao, I will bestow upon you the supreme immortal Lord who rules over a part of the immortal world. Following that, the blood demon who had transformed into a bloody person pointed at Su Fang. He was high and mighty, like a blood god who ruled over life and death, extremely arrogant. Chapter 1245. I've always liked to control my own fate. The devil race has no right to control my fate. Su Fang's voice was filled with supreme arrogance. You're what humans call a frog at the bottom of a well. With the upheaval of the world, the great immortal world will belong to the devil race. Fighting against the devil race is equivalent to defying the heavens. How dare an ant like you defy the heavens? If the heavens suppress me, so what if I defy the heavens? The clanging sounds revealed an unyielding and supreme domineering aura. Su Fang's voice was filled with killing intent. Kill. The second primordial spirit controlled the corpse emperor to release monstrous chi of death. The Kuan demon also used its spatial ability to attack the blood devil. Baimo monarch and the other experts, as well as the three big goblins, Green Feather Monarch, Vermilion Monarch, and Sister Bai, all used their Dao artifacts. The experts, Big Goblin, Junior Commanders, and the remaining 1,000 resurrected cultivators all charged at the devil and devil cultivators. Their mission wasn't to kill the enemy, but to stop the experts from coming to help. Although the Azure Demon's strength had reached the Immortal Emperor realm, he should have been able to kill anyone below the Six Paths World Immortal realm. However, he had been injured repeatedly. It was already good enough that he had half of his strength left. Each of the experts and great demons under Su Fang's command was extraordinary. Not only did they have extraordinary abilities, but they also had very powerful Dao treasures. At this moment, all of them were in high fighting spirit. Under their joint efforts, the immortal Emperor Azure Demon couldn't fight back at all. Azure Demon had no choice but to cast the 9 Nether Heaven Covering Hand to resist the ferocious attacks while activating the Celestial Ghost Body Art to flee in a sorry state. Little Azure Demon, how did your strength drop to such a level? You've really disappointed me. Hold on a little longer. Once I kill the Kuan Demon and the Corpse Emperor possessed by the Immortal Emperor's primordial spirit, I'll come to help you. On the other side, the Blood Devil, who was fighting the Kuan Demon and the Corpse Emperor, transmitted his voice. He was clearly dissatisfied. Kill that arrogant human cultivator first. The others will collapse on their own. This person's body is full of vitality. It'll definitely be very beneficial to my cultivation. The Blood Devil transformed into a pool of blood and forced his way out of the Corpse Emperor's and the Kuan Demon's blockade. He instantly crossed the void and charged at Su Fang. Whoosh! Su Fang was caught off guard and his body was covered by the blood. Ant-like humans, you can't even withstand a single blow. How dare you be so arrogant? Become my nourishment! Roared the Bloodwater. Blood Demon's voice came out from within, sounding very pleased. A wave of flames erupted from the bloody water. Its aura was astonishing, and it carried a supreme fire-type divine might. Sizzle! The terrifying blood boiled, burned, and then evaporated. The death chi and blood poison contained within were refined into wisps of black smoke. What kind of flame is this? It can actually burn my body. After fusing 3 types of alien flame seeds, the current illusory fire cloud had reached a very terrifying level. He could burn some weak world immortal experts to death when he used it at the Feather Immortal realm. What made the Blood Devil suffer was the pure Yang primordial flame. This kind of overbearing flame was above all primordial flames. It contained the power of pure Yang. It was the most overbearing power of pure Yang. It could refine any evil power. It was the nemesis of the Blood Devil. However, this Blood Devil's cultivation was too high. The difference between Su Fang and him was too big. The illusory fire cloud and the pure Yang primordial flame could only threaten him to a certain extent. Phaseless fire cloud saber. Su Fang let out a loud roar, and streaks of fiery saber light landed on the blood water of the blood demon incarnation. Boom! 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 The saber light exploded into a large amount of dazzling fire clouds. Every explosion made the blood water tumble. Damn it, human! You've angered me! The blood demon roared. He had originally thought that he could swallow the weak chicken in one gulp, but the weak chicken had actually injured him and angered him. Whoosh! A black disk suddenly appeared above the blood devil. It turned out that Su Fang had used the heavenly demon blood disk. The black demonic light released a divine aura to cover the blood water. However, the blood water was too big and could not cover it completely. The blood devil's primordial spirit and physical body were one. It could not be possessed. However, it was not without a primordial spirit. The heavenly demon blood disk specialized in restraining primordial spirit. The divine aura released not only caused great pressure to the blood devil's primordial spirit, but also affected the blood water's power. It's actually the heavenly demon blood disk. He did not expect a human cultivator to have the heavenly demon blood disk. He also did not expect a feather immortal to be so powerful as to be able to activate the heavenly demon blood disk's power. The blood devil was shocked and furious. The blood water swirled and intended to devour the heavenly demon blood disk. At this moment, the Kuan demon and the second primordial spirit released their powers at the same time. The Kuan demon's shocking aura tore through the void. It set off a chaotic space-time airflow and tore the blood water apart. Although the blood water healed quickly, it caused great damage to the blood devil. The demon sovereign's all-out attack was not to be underestimated. The second primordial spirit attacked with its primordial spirit. At the same time, it activated the zombie emperor's ability to absorb the deathly aura in the blood water. The dark green demonic emperor was a blood devil that had been revived with the help of the evil aura of heaven and earth. The deathly aura was also a part of his body. When it was absorbed by the zombie emperor, his strength was also damaged. You can actually force me to this extent. Even if you die, you should feel honored. Dark green sky devour. Boom. The blood water that the blood devil had transformed into suddenly rumbled and turned into a huge whirlpool. What was more shocking was that the whirlpool turned into a huge face. At the bottom of the whirlpool was the blood devil's mouth. It looked terrifying. Whoosh. The blood devil's mouth took a deep breath. Together with the whirlpool, it formed a terrifying devouring power. It seemed to even devour the surrounding space-time, twisting and turning into streaks of turbulence. The Kuan demon quickly transformed into the Kuan Pung. It flapped its huge wings and flew out of the area engulfed by the devouring power. The zombie emperor's body, which was controlled by the second primordial spirit, sank and fell toward the center of the blood whirlpool. Although it barely stabilized its body and struggled to not be swallowed by the whirlpool, large pieces of flesh fell off its body. If it abandoned the zombie emperor's body, the second primordial spirit could naturally escape easily. However, the body of an immortal lord was very rare. The second primordial spirit was also reluctant to give it up. Just as Su Fang put away the heavenly fiend blood plate and used the fire cloud steps to escape, a huge devouring force enveloped his body. Not to mention the fire cloud steps, even the illusory fire cloud and pure yang true fire were suppressed by this force to the point that it was difficult to use them. With a whoosh, Su Fang was swallowed into the blood whirlpool. Even the people who were fighting fiercely in the distance, whether it was the big goblin, the experts, the devil race, or the demonic Tao cultivators, all the blood in their bodies reversed. Those who were closer and weaker instantly collapsed and turned into bloodmen. Both sides of the battle were shocked and quickly retreated. Su Fang! Master! Brother! Seeing Su Fang being swallowed by the blood demon, the experts and the big goblin all cried out in surprise. In the thunder punishment cauldron, Fairy Xuanxin's mind suddenly went blank. Her beautiful and flawless face was full of grief. Large strings of tears rolled down her face. She murmured in her heart, "Su Fang, we are not fated in this life. If there is reincarnation, I will accompany you forever." The Azure Demon laughed wildly. "Su Fang has already become the nourishment of the demonic emperor. Why don't you surrender now?" The dark green demonic emperor's huge blood face also bloomed with a smug smile. As the blood whirlpool kept changing, it was very strange and sinister. Suddenly, the blood face twisted, revealing a painful expression. Even the speed of the whirlpool's rotation suddenly slowed down. The second primordial spirit took the opportunity to break free from the shackles and rushed out of the range of the whirlpool. Roar! Damn it! What kind of strange ability is this? The blood demon cried out in surprise. The blood whirlpool kept rippling, appearing very chaotic. Everyone looked at it in surprise. At the bottom of the whirlpool, the blood demon's mouth had disappeared. Instead, there was a blood whirlpool that was only a few dozen feet in size. However, this blood whirlpool was full of pure yang life flames. It was boiling and burning, completely different from the blood that the blood demon had transformed into, which was full of death chi and demonic chi. What was even more incredible was that as the new blood whirlpool kept spinning, it kept devouring the blood demon's blood around it. The demonic chi and death chi were also refined. No wonder the blood demon was in so much pain. How could it not be painful when its body was being devoured bit by bit? In the blink of an eye, the whirlpool had expanded to an area of more than 500 feet, and it was still expanding rapidly. Whoosh! It turned out that the blood demon had directly stripped off its own blood and escaped from the terrifying blood whirlpool, turning back into a blood man again. The sudden change made everyone dumbfounded. The scene that was originally full of killing had a temporary silence. The blood rolled, and Su Fang turned back into his physical state. It turned out that the moment Su Fang was devoured by the blood demon, he immediately shattered his physical body and used the Acheron Blood Sea. Using the Acheron Blood Sea's powerful devouring ability and the pure yang primordial fire, he devoured part of the blood demon's body. However, Su Fang did not have it easy. After all, the difference between the two was too big. In just a short while, not only was his pure yang energy almost depleted, the Acheron Blood Sea's ability had also reached its limit. The blood poison, demonic chi, and death chi in the blood demon's blood also caused him a lot of damage. The dark jade demon emperor's blood-red eyes lit up with a shocking bloody light. He said in disbelief, "That is..." The Azure Demon cried out in shock, "The Acheron Blood Sea! That's the Acheron Blood Sea of the Acheron Demon Emperor!" Whoosh! The demon race and demonic Tao cultivators exclaimed like a tidal wave. The Acheron Demon Emperor was even more famous among the demon race and demonic Tao cultivators than the righteous Tao cultivators. What shocked the Azure Demon even more was Su Fang's other identity, the Ghost Face Rakshasa. The person who was most shocked was Xuanxin, who was in the Thunder Punishment Cauldron. Impossible! How could it be? That was Xuanxin's first thought. Then, the figures of Su Fang and the Ghost Face Rakshasa overlapped. There were all kinds of emotions, such as shock, surprise, anger, embarrassment, excitement, anticipation, and so on. Lord Demon Emperor, the Acheron Demon Emperor's inheritance is something the demon world must get. It's in the hands of this person right now. Kill him and get the Acheron Demon Emperor's inheritance, the Azure Demon shouted. The dark jade demon emperor's eyes were filled with fear. The blood demon was a very special kind of demon. If he was injured by other divine powers or auras, he could recover easily by swallowing blood. However, his body was directly swallowed by the Acheron Blood Sea. This was a fatal injury that could not be recovered even if he wanted to. Although the loss of being swallowed by the Acheron Blood Sea was still bearable, the blood demon was truly afraid. Suddenly, the dark jade demon emperor took a step forward and traveled through the void. He directly arrived in front of the Azure Demon and unleashed his aura, sending the experts surrounding the Azure Demon and the big goblin flying. Then, the dark Jade Demon Emperor shot out a blood-red demonic light that enveloped the Azure Demon. "Lord Demon Emperor, what are you doing?" The Azure Demon was scared out of his wits. The dark Jade Demon Emperor laughed cruelly. "Burn everything you have and activate the Thunder Punishment Cauldron to kill this person. Little Azure Demon, sacrifice yourself for the sake of the entire demon race." Chapter 1246. Boom. The Azure Demon's body burned from the inside out. Not only his physical body, but his vital spirit, devil chi, life essence, and even his own illusory fate chi were all activated by the blood demon. Chi. Ancient and mysterious thunder runes appeared on the Thunder Punishment Cauldron. Along with an ancient chi, a shocking thunder divine aura suddenly burst out, enveloping the surroundings. Everyone present, be it human cultivators, demons, or devils, trembled under this divine aura that contained the will of the heavenly Tao. They felt as if everything about them had been erased from this world, leaving no trace behind. Su Fang's masters and the big goblin couldn't stop the blood demon even if they wanted to. "Reincarnation, help me!" The Azure Demon couldn't control himself. He looked at Su Fang. Sensing that his physical body, life chi, and even fate were firmly locked onto, Su Fang shouted without hesitation. The underworld reincarnation sword appeared in his hand. The 3-foot-long sword exuded a powerful and profound chi. As Su Fang struck it with a complicated seal technique that contained the divine aura of reincarnation, a sharp and domineering aura burst out with a shocking reincarnation sword intent. At the same time, Su Fang activated the life-shrinking technique to the extreme. His hair instantly turned white, and his face rapidly aged. Lightning spread out, covering everything in the space. Crack! A bolt of purple lightning with faint golden threads shot out from the cauldron of lightning punishment. In the next second, Song Mo's body first shriveled, and then, like a piece of wood that had been burned to ashes, it turned into ashes and drifted away. It hit Su Fang's body. Lightning was the most terrifying power in nature. The Thunder Punishment Cauldron released a thunder divine aura that contained a trace of the will of the heavenly Tao. Covered by the lightning, all the cultivators, demons, and devils were affected. The thunderous sound even shattered some people's eardrums and made their souls tremble. "Master, the reincarnation sword can't withstand the power of this thunder punishment and can't protect you. Take care of yourself." Su Fang could only activate less than 30% of the Samsara sword's power. The underworld Samsara sword could barely absorb and divert some of the thunderbolt. It lasted for a moment before the formation in the sword shattered. It had no choice but to return to the Heaven and Earth Tao Palace in Su Fang's body. The golden armor Tao artifact and indestructible golden body he had taken from Lin Yihan were shattered. The power of thunder punishment quickly spread to every corner of Su Fang's body, instantly destroying more than half of his meridians. The Black Lotus True Body, Blood Transformation True Body, and other abilities fought against the power of the thunder punishment. The Yin-Yang Dao wheel also exploded with a wave of Yin-Yang divine might that was filled with divinity. It wanted to tame the power of the thunder punishment obediently. The purple chi law spirit fused with the Emperor's seal, emitting a mysterious purple light. It erupted with the aura of a ruler and the loftiness of an overlord. It gave Su Fang supreme luck. It was about to completely reverse the calamity brought about by the destructive power of the lightning punishment. Su Fang's physical body's various abilities completely exploded. In order to deal with the power of the thunder punishment, his body entered a delicate state of balance. At the same time, the Tao inscriptions of the life-shrinking technique also started a life and death battle in the sea of divine apertures. Fate, I control the secrets of the heavens. If I want to live, the heavens cannot take it away. Fate, I control the secrets of the heavens. If I want to live, the heavens cannot live without me. Fate, I control the secrets of the heavens. If I am destroyed, everything will be destroyed. Fate, I control the secrets of the heavens. If I live forever, I will never die. Fate, I control the secrets of the heavens. If I am alive, the heavens and earth will shake. Fate, I control the secrets of the heavens. If I am the ruler, all the worlds will bow down to me. Fate, I control the secrets of the heavens. If the heavens punish me, I will go against the heavens. Fate, I control the secrets of the heavens. If the earth buries me, I will break the earth. Fate, I control the secrets of the heavens. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust, there is no me. A will of the heavenly way tyrannically wanted to destroy everything Su Fang. At this critical moment, Su Fang used the essence of the great Tao of the life shrinking technique. He continuously chanted with his primordial spirit, making this divine ability that came from fate resist the will of the heavenly way and seize a chance of survival for himself. Buzz, buzz. Many mysterious Tao inscriptions gradually rose from the defensive layer that protected the divine apertures. They turned into Tao inscriptions and flames that burned the will of the heavenly way. Although the will of the heavenly way in the power of the thunder punishment was powerful, it was only obtained by absorbing the thunder punishment. It was not the real power of the heavenly way. With Su Fang's current strength, if he really faced the will of the heavenly way that killed the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor, Su Fang would instantly turn into ashes. The will of the heavenly way was gradually dispelled. Unexpectedly, at this moment, there was a sudden clap of thunder in the sea of divine apertures. It was not the sound of the thunder punishment, nor was it the thunder of nature. It came from the life-shrinking technique. Dense Tao inscriptions surged out like clouds and exploded with the sound of thunder. It was like a clap of thunder that came from the depths of fate. Su Fang's primordial spirit was immersed in an ethereal state of nothingness. His consciousness also became blurry. All of this seemed to take a long time, but in fact, it all happened in a flash. The violent power of the thunder punishment surrounded Su Fang with lightning. The space around him collapsed. Streams of air spurted out, forming a huge turbulent whirlpool. Fighting against the demon race is going against the will of the heavenly way. This is the result. The blood demon laughed wildly, like a god that controlled the fate of all living things. The underworld reincarnation sword burst out with its divine power, absorbing part of the lightning and transferring it back. There was another shocking clap of thunder. The blood demon, who was extremely proud, stopped laughing. He was scared out of his wits. He retreated quickly, but before he could turn into a pool of blood, he was hit by the lightning and was sent flying. The blood demon broke into pieces and turned into a pool of blood. Lightning flashed on it continuously, making painful and frightened howls. The cauldron of thunder punishment became an ownerless object and fell down. Deity! Su Fang. After being hit by the terrifying power of the cauldron of thunder punishment, how could he survive? The second primordial spirit, the monster Kuan, and the big goblin and experts that Su Fang had taken in were all shocked and fell into despair. Go! As Su Fang was about to be swallowed up by the turbulent whirlpool created by the power of thunder punishment, the monster Kuan flapped his giant wings, creating a storm of air currents. The experts and big goblin were swept up into the whirlpool. The second primordial spirit grabbed onto the cauldron of thunder punishment, but he was a step too slow. By the time he entered the turbulent whirlpool, he had already lost track of the monster Kuan and Su Fang. Damnable, damnable humans! The Dark Jade Demon Monarch was an unsurpassed powerhouse that approached the immortal Emperor realm. Although he was able to dissolve the power of thunder punishment, he had paid a heavy price. The pool of blood that was his body had shrunk by more than half, and he no longer had his previous monstrous ferocity. Even in his long life before he was resurrected, he had never suffered such a severe wound before. If he wanted to completely recover, he would need tens of thousands of years or even longer. His losses weren't limited to this. Demon Dawn Fortress was almost completely destroyed. The monster Kuan had escaped, and the human cultivators, except for those who had been planted, had all been rescued. Desolation and Firmament, the two great emissaries of the demon realm who had been lurking in this immortal realm for a long time, had both died. The Gorb demon, who was comparable to an immortal emperor, had died. No less than 10 great elder-level cultivators had died, and countless cultivators below the great elder level had died. What was even more unbearable was that the space-time boundary passage had been completely sealed off. The advance of the demon army had been stopped. If they wanted to reopen it, it would take at least 1,000 years. So many heavy losses, roaring and cursing, the dark jade demon monarch wished he could kill Su Fong 1,000 times, 10,000 times. But how much had Su Fong lost? More than 2,000 resurrected cultivators, as well as a few big goblin and experts. Compared to the demon army's losses, it was almost negligible. The only thing that comforted the dark jade demon monarch was that Su Fong had died. Unfortunately, the inheritance of the Yellow Springs demon emperor had disappeared just like that. The dark jade demon monarch couldn't help but feel regret. It was a barren, cold, and desolate ruin. Many big goblins and experts gathered around a corpse. Tens of thousands of people and demons were all grieving and crying. Su Fong's body didn't have the slightest bit of life aura, and even his divine aperture's ocean was deathly still. He was indeed dead. Boy, you said you would lead this king and the big goblin to sweep across the great celestial realm. How did you die? How did you die just like that? King Greenfeather couldn't believe it. Bai Ling burst into tears. Brother, it's all our fault. If we had killed Song Mo earlier and taken the Cauldron of Thunder punishment, you wouldn't have died. Dai Yong, Lord Ba Mo, and the other experts, as well as the other big goblin who had besieged Song Mo, all looked guilty. I was hoping that you would help me take care of Qingyu, the younger generation of the Rock Clan. Who would have thought? The Koan demon sighed. He had already transformed into his human form and looked like an old man with one foot in the grave. After a series of fierce battles, this demon was also at the end of his rope. It has nothing to do with you. In the end, it's all my fault. A white-clothed figure knelt beside Su Fong's corpse. Her face was elegant and beautiful, and her eyes were calm. It was Xuanxin Fairy. It turned out that the second primordial spirit had caught up with the Kuan demon and came to this ruin. However, the corpse emperor's body had been mostly destroyed and could no longer be used. Xuanxin Fairy was shackled in the Cauldron of Thunder punishment. With Song Mo dead, the Cauldron of Thunder punishment was ownerless. However, it was very difficult for Fairy Xuanxin to get out. However, the Cauldron of Thunder punishment was a broken Dao artifact after all. The Kuan demon, a demon emperor expert with innate spatial abilities, entered the Dao artifact's space and forcefully tore apart the array formation to release Fairy Xuanxin. A pair of soft hands gently caressed Su Fong's face, which had been charred by the power of thunder punishment. Fairy Xuanxin Fairy's eyes were no longer cold and still. Instead, they were filled with tenderness. Reincarnation is too long. I can't wait any longer. No matter where you go, I will find you and accompany you in the endless reincarnation. Thinking back to the scenes with Rakshasa and Su Fong, Fairy Xuanxin Fairy finally understood that her fate had long been inextricably linked to this person. From the moment she saw Su Fong in the Cauldron of Thunder punishment, Fairy Xuanxin Fairy suddenly understood that this person was the one she had been searching for all her life. Now that Su Fong was dead, the most important thing in her life was to follow him to reincarnation. Suddenly, Fairy Xuanxin Fairy revealed a brilliant smile. She was like an epiphyllum suddenly blooming with beauty. A wave of blood qi fluctuated. At the same time, her true qi and essence spirit also fluctuated violently. They were about to collapse and turn into ashes. Wait. The corpse emperor, who had been sitting cross-legged beside Su Fong, suddenly spoke with his second essence spirit. If you die and I resurrect, won't I regret it for the rest of my life? The second essence spirit's voice was still cold. Resurrect? Fairy Xuanxin Fairy smiled sadly. Su Fong could not be more dead, but he could still be resurrected? Green Feather King, Bai Ling, and the other big goblin had witnessed countless miracles on Su Fong. Moreover, the one who spoke was Su Fong's second essence spirit. Hope was instantly ignited. Chapter 1247. Let me take a look. Second primordial spirit said coldly, then came out of the corpse emperor's body, turned into a dazzling black light, and entered Su Fong's divine aperture through his forehead. In the divine aperture ocean, a golden young immortal sat cross-legged above the spiritual power ocean, as if he was in a deep sleep, but also as if he was cultivating. However, he looked very dispirited, but there was a faint supreme lightning elemental divine might lingering around him. What was even stranger was that not only the divine aperture ocean, but even the vital qi in his body, and even the heaven and earth Tao palace were in a stagnant state. Law. Second primordial spirit suddenly called out to the blood jade in the depths of his body. There was a response from the blood jade. Hello, second primordial spirit. I thought you would also be destroyed by the thunder punishment force, but it seems that you are fine. Second primordial spirit let out a sigh of relief, but his tone was still cold. His temperament was becoming more and more different from Su Fong's original body. A little bit of thunder punishment force can't damage blood jade. Law, what's the original body's situation now? After a moment of silence, Law's faint voice sounded again. It's very dangerous, but also very strange. Law, please be more direct. The power of the thunder punishment almost destroyed his physical body and spread to every corner. However, Su Fong has a perfect physical body and special abilities such as the Black Lotus True Body and Dragon Taming Wood. He has reached a balance with the power of the thunder punishment. Either he fuses with the power of the thunder punishment or he is destroyed by it. So, isn't it very dangerous? It's extremely dangerous, and he can be turned into ashes at any time. However, I have said again and again that great danger always hides an equally great opportunity. For Su Fong's original body, now he is also facing an opportunity to transform. Second primordial spirit didn't say anything, quietly waiting for Law to continue. Second primordial spirit, you are really like a piece of wood, even more boring than the original body. Well, you won't understand even if it's too complicated, so let's make it simple. Let's use a piece of wood as an example. Have you ever seen a tree struck by lightning? The second primordial spirit directly replied, never seen him before. Law almost choked. Cough. Su Fong is now like a tree struck by lightning. It looks dead on the surface, but in fact, the roots and stems inside are intact. If he finds an opportunity, not only can he be resurrected, but he will also be reborn. His physical body and various abilities built on the basis of the perfect physical body will transform together. Not only that, but because he has integrated the power of thunder punishment, his physical body will have more lightning abilities. It's just like how some mortals would have some special abilities after escaping from being struck by lightning. That's the reason. The second primordial spirit asked, what if you can't find the opportunity you mentioned? Law was very confident. If it was other cultivators, even some supreme powerhouses, the possibility of obtaining a new life is next to nothing, but on Su Fong, the probability of obtaining a transformation is higher. Why? Luck. Su Fong has the purple Qi Dharma spirit. Not long ago, in the void realm inside the yellow tomb of the Divine Wave Nation, he merged the purple Qi Dharma spirit with the Emperor's seal. He has the supreme luck to dispel misfortune and turn misfortune into blessings. It is this kind of luck that can reverse the decline of Su Fong's destruction and turn the calamity into a power that promotes his transformation. I don't quite understand. What is the opportunity? The opportunity is by his side, the Xuanxin fairy who is ready to die for love, Without waiting for Law to say why, the second primordial spirit directly interrupted him. What should I do? It's really boring talking to you. You don't even give me a chance to show off. Then let's be more direct. Dual cultivation. Dual cultivation of yin and yang, with the help of the fusion of yin and yang, is the opportunity for Su Fang's physical body to regain vitality. Dual cultivation? He could have just said those two words. Law, are you really? Close? Spicy Ren Ike Amaranth. Cough cough. Law had always been the one to teach Su Fang a lesson, but now he was choked by the second primordial spirit to the point that he couldn't speak. Law was very depressed. The second primordial spirit asked again, with my physical body's current state, how can I dual cultivate with a woman? Finally seizing the opportunity, Law bluntly reprimanded. Idiot, who said that dual cultivation requires physical intercourse. Let the Xuanxin fairy's primordial spirit and Su Fang dual cultivate, and then let the woman's pure yin qi enter Su Fang's body to fuse yin and yang. Do you understand? The second primordial spirit was unmoved, and then asked, why did my primordial spirit fall into a deep slumber? That's because he used the heavenly secret life shrinking technique, and his life force was almost exhausted to the limit, and he couldn't replenish it from his physical body. In addition, because of the power of the thunder punishment, he obtained a destiny god art from the heavenly secret life shrinking technique, and he temporarily doesn't have the power of his primordial spirit to comprehend it, so it's like this. Whoosh! The second primordial spirit directly withdrew from Su Fang's divine aperture. You're so stubborn in front of me. I'll let you and Xuanxin Fairy do the deed. Let's see if you'll still be so stubborn. I'll help you solve your physiological problem, and you don't need to thank me. Deep within the blood jade, Law's proud voice sounded, but unfortunately, Su Fang couldn't hear it. It turned out that Su Fang didn't need to dual cultivate at all, and sooner or later he would wake up. It was just a matter of time. Law's arrangement was purely to take advantage of Su Fang's unconscious state to ruthlessly trap Su Fang. The corpse emperor suddenly opened his eyes. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Xuanxin Fairy and the people beside her all looked at the corpse emperor with hopeful eyes, as if this terrifying corpse emperor with his lifeless aura was a great savior. There's a way. The second primordial spirit's cold voice fell into everyone's ears, like the sound of nature, very pleasant to the ears. His cold gaze fell on Xuanxin Fairy. Dual cultivate with my primordial spirit, and he will wake up. Huar surprise, surprise. Then, the atmosphere became somewhat subtle and strange. This method, Xuanxin Fairy's face turned red in an instant, and she was extremely shy, with a peculiar charm. The experts and great demons were all dumbfounded by what they saw. They looked angrily at the second primordial spirit. Even if you want to use this method, can't you avoid everyone first? The latter was unmoved, and used the voice of the primordial spirit to convey Law's words word for word. Lowering her head in silence for a while, she raised her head again, and Xuanxin Fairy's expression returned to calmness, her eyes revealing determination. He and I are dual cultivation Tao companions, and it's perfectly normal for us to dual cultivate, let alone to save his life. What a decisive woman! Although Su Fang and Fairy Xuanxin had long become dual cultivation Tao companions, and almost everyone in the celestial realm knew, the experts and big goblin under Su Fang knew that ever since the two of them dual cultivated, they had not even held hands. Moreover, Xuanxin's personality was cold, reserved, and unapproachable. At this time, in order to save Su Fang, she did not hesitate to agree to dual cultivate with Su Fang, without any hesitation, without any pretense, and without any hesitation. This made the experts and big goblin secretly admire her. Looking at the experts and big goblin, Fairy Xuanxin regained her cold appearance of the number 1 fairy, and her cold voice carried a sense of dominance. I'm dual cultivating with your master, and you're planning to watch from the side? Could it be that you dare to belittle and profane me, the mistress of the celestial realm? We don't dare. Su Fang's experts and Big Goblin all changed expressions, revealing shock and awe, and they all retreated into the distance. The second primordial spirit and Kuan demon also stayed far away. Who knew before Bai Ling left, she said with a smile. Brother's wife, you take your time, Su Fang. I'll ask for wedding candies another day. Whoosh! Xuanxin's face was completely red, and even her ears and snow-white neck were bright red. Huff! She let out a long sigh. Xuanxin settled down for a moment, and her heart calmed down. She set up array after array to protect the surroundings, and then took out a white jade-like Dao artifact, and after activating it with a seal, it floated above, emitting a holy white light and abundant spirit qi, enveloping the two of them, completely isolating them from the outside world. In her mind, scenes of her meeting with Su Fang, and of course, Rakshasa, flashed continuously. All this time, you've been saving me, and today, I'll save you once. My heart and everything I have now belongs to you. It's a pity that you fell into a deep sleep during our first dual cultivation. Thinking of Su Fang's disguised identity, Xuanxin felt ashamed and angry. You bad guy, I'll let you off this time. If there's a next time, you'll have to explain everything clearly to me in the past. After helping Su Fang sit up, Xuanxin activated a shockingly cold Xian Guang, enveloping Su Fang inside. On the other side of the ruins, nearly 50 miles away, the Vermilion Emperor laughed strangely. Since coming to the great celestial realm, our mistress has never enjoyed the pleasure of a man and a woman, but this time, it's a blessing in disguise. Not bad, not bad. I kind of want to find a female demon. It'd be best if she could give birth to a bunch of little pigs for me, hee hee. Bai Ling glared at the Vermilion Emperor. I'll give birth to a bunch of stupid pigs for you. The monk Shangda also smacked his lips with a covetous look. It seems that I'll have to consider finding a nun to dual cultivate with and give birth to a few little monks for me. Maybe I can even break through my current realm. However, it's difficult to find a female Buddhist cultivator in the great celestial realm. Smack! Bright Light's head was slapped hard by Bai Ling, and it was loud and clear. Su Fang had always treated Bai Ling as his elder sister, and among the many experts and Big Goblin, her status was the highest. The monk didn't dare to get angry and said innocently, I'm talking about human relations, why did you hit me? Bai Ling said with a murderous look, Buddhist cultivators always think about such filthy things. You're simply a lecherous monk. In order to prevent you from harming female cultivators and damaging my brother's reputation, it seems that I really have to break your fifth limb first. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Malicious gazes shot over, scaring the monk out of his wits. He hugged his head and fled, swearing in his heart that if he ever got within 1,000 feet of Bai Ling in the future, he wouldn't be the monk Shangda. Just as the commotion was going on, Kuan Yao suddenly sent a voice transmission to Green Feather King. Little guy, come with me. Sensing Kuan Yao's declining aura and the determination in his eyes, Green Feather King had a bad premonition in his heart, and he followed Kuan Yao out of the ruins. In the array formation, ZZ Fairy Xuanxin's burst of pure and pure Yin energy enveloped Su Fang, seeping into Su Fang's body. Unexpectedly, more than half of Su Fang's physical body was destroyed by the power of thunder punishment, and his skin turned into a layer of charred skin, like the outer layer of charred wood, and the Yin energy couldn't penetrate. Hesitation. The next second Fairy Xuanxin's eyes revealed shyness and determination, but the corners of her mouth curled up, and a bright smile bloomed, looking incomparably beautiful. The Taoist robe on her body was taken off, revealing her beautiful and flawless white body. Even the masterpiece carefully carved by the gods would be overshadowed at this moment. Then, Fairy Xuanxin hugged Su Fang from behind, her chest tightly pressed against Su Fang's back, and her palms overlapped, resting on Su Fang's navel. At this moment, there was no longer shyness on her face, but holiness instead. Another burst of Yin energy, as well as her life aura, her luck, and everything else, erupted without reservation, attacking and penetrating again and again. Chapter 1248. In the Divine Aperture World. Fairy Xuanxin's primordial spirit, which carried a cold aura, hugged Su Fang's young immortal deeply. This was the first time Fairy Xuanxin was experiencing dual cultivation on a deeper level. In the past, the so-called dual cultivation between her and Yan Xinxin was merely the transfer and fusion of their true qi. Most Dao companions used this method to dual cultivate. At this moment, it was a fusion at the soul level. It was a completely different realm from the former. However, Su Fang's young immortal did not react. Fairy Xuanxin's physique was very special. The cultivation technique she cultivated was also a supreme technique of the clear sky's myriad scroll door. Her cultivation talent was unparalleled. This was also the reason why she could become the #1 fairy of the clear sky's myriad scroll door. Her true qi and primordial spirit contained a cold aura. Not only was it pure and cold, but it also carried a pure and holy aura that could not be blasphemed. However, Su Fang's young immortal was dispirited, and his consciousness was in a state of deep sleep. He did not react at all to the aura of Fairy Xuanxin's primordial spirit. Just the aura of the primordial spirit is far from enough. In front of him, I don't need to hold back. Fairy Xuanxin opened her heart and released the call from her soul. She used her sincere and passionate love, her ethereal fate, and even her life to try to awaken Su Fang's sleeping consciousness. Due to her physique, temperament, and cultivation technique, her love was pure and untainted. Since she was young, she had been protected by her grandfather, Xian Yintian. She had been carefully nurtured by the clear sky's myriad scroll door. Unknowingly, she had a providence that surpassed others. At this moment, she gave everything to him. At the same time, Fairy Xuanxin also activated her cold aura without holding back. She even released her vitality to unblock Su Fang's blocked and even withered body and meridians. It penetrated into his body with difficulty. A trace of vitality slowly appeared in Su Fang's body. However, it was very weak. It was like a flame in the wind, about to be extinguished at any time. Gradually, Fairy Xuanxin could feel that her vital spirit, vital qi, and even her vitality were weakening. However, she didn't hold back at all. There was only one obsession in her heart. Soon, Fairy Xuanxin's consciousness became blurry, and her cultivation level plummeted. She was reduced to a mortal. If this continued, she would vanish in less than 10 breaths. Am I really not fated with him? Am I not even qualified to dual cultivate with him? Or is it that he doesn't have me in his heart at all? Even if I give up everything, it will still be difficult to wake him up? Dispirited. Despair. His soul was about to disperse. Suddenly, in the ocean of Su Fang's divine aperture, there was a sudden clap of thunder. An ethereal sound of thunder, which contained the supreme divine might of the thunder element, rumbled. It wasn't the kind of thunder that carried the will of destruction. Instead, it was like spring thunder that awakened all living things. Su Fang's young immortals finally started to absorb the cold energy. At first, they were a little hesitant. Then, as if they were extremely hungry and thirsty, they greedily and even domineeringly swallowed the cold energy. Fairy Xuanxin's primordial spirit was also absorbing the yang energy from the young immortals' explosion. They absorbed and fused with each other. And with this ethereal clap of thunder, the fates of the two were also intimately intertwined. At the same time, Su Fang's yin-yang Dao wheel, which had been silent all this time, also flashed with a bolt of lightning. It swept through the 25 yang meridians and swept away all the haze. The entire yin-yang Dao wheel exploded with an astonishing amount of pure yang energy. Yang energy represented the source of life. Su Fang's pure yang energy was even more so. As the pure yang energy swept through and fused with Fairy Xuanxin's cold true qi, Su Fang's body was like a withered tree that had received the nourishment of rain and dew. It immediately regained its vitality. The potential of the perfected body exploded. The Black Lotus True Body and Dragon Taming Woods abilities were automatically activated. His life aura burned like flames. Fairy Xuanxin's almost depleted life aura was instantly replenished as the pure yang energy entered her body. Soon, she was full of vitality again. This feeling, not only did the two's true qi and primordial spirit form a cycle in their bodies and yang energy, their bodies, souls, and everything else were fusing with each other. Even their fates were fusing. This was the highest level of dual cultivation, the feeling that came from far beyond the physical body. Fairy Xuanxin felt as if she had floated into the clouds. She could not help but let out a clear groan from her soul. Her consciousness that had just woken up sank into an incomparably wonderful feeling. Almost subconsciously, she hugged Su Fang even tighter. She wanted to fuse with Su Fang's body and never be separated. As for Su Fang, his consciousness had not completely awakened. He only wanted to sink into the immense joy of his body and mind. His body was constantly regenerating. It was as if it had been baptized by thunder. His perfected abilities, his various true bodies, and his Tao Palace were all quietly transforming. Fairy Xuanxin's gains were also completely beyond her imagination. As her heart was completely open, the knot in her heart was also completely untied. In addition to the benefits brought by the fusion of yin and yang, the bottleneck that had restricted her for many years slowly loosened without her noticing. Time gradually passed. 10 years passed in the blink of an eye. On the other side of the ruins, many experts, the big goblin, and many junior commanders were sitting cross-legged on the ground. They all looked like they were focused on cultivating. In fact, this was a desolate place. There was not much spiritual qi of heaven and earth. There was also no spirit vein or elixirs like before from Su Fang. Naturally, cultivation would not have any effect. It was even more impossible for them to be in the mood to cultivate. Every one of them winked at each other from time to time and secretly communicated with their primordial spirit. They were very excited. Only the second primordial spirit sat cross-legged in one place with its eyes closed. It did not move at all. Because the corpse emperor's body was severely damaged, he looked like a genuine corpse. The Green Feather King had gone somewhere with the Kuan demon. They had not returned yet. Communicating with their primordial spirits was not very satisfying. In the end, the Vermilion Emperor could not help but exclaim, "Dual cultivation for 10 years. Master is indeed mighty. Even I am ashamed of my inferiority." The Baimo monarch, Dai Yong, and the other experts were very mature. They were also very respectful of Su Fang. They sat there without moving and did not say a word. The monk Shangde looked around and found that Bai Ling was not beside him. He said softly, 10 years is nothing. If it were me, I would spend at least 100 years on dual cultivation. The Vermilion Emperor said mockingly, "You would do dual cultivation for 3 seconds and then meditate for 100 years, right?" The big goblin could not help but burst into laughter. Bai Ling's angry voice sounded, "We don't even know if Brother Su Fang is dead or alive. How dare you make fun of him here? When he wakes up, I will definitely tell him and see how he will deal with you." All of them fell silent. The monk was more like an obedient child. Wooling Goblin suddenly said, "Everyone seems to be joking. In fact, we are all worried about Master's safety. It has been 10 years and there is still no news." Bai Ling let out a sigh filled with worry. Everyone fell silent. Suddenly, the corpse emperor suddenly opened his eyes, and a wisp of a strange light flashed within his lifeless eyes. Bai Ling noticed the corpse emperor's abnormality and asked worriedly, "Did something happen?" The second primordial spirit said coldly, "There is nothing else. I have awakened." "Master is awake?" After a moment of surprise, the experts and great demons burst into a burst of cheers and laughter. The huge stone that had been hanging in their hearts was finally lifted. Inside the formation, Su Fang and Fairy Xuanxin opened their eyes at the same time. Su Fong turned around and the two of them sat opposite each other. They looked at each other and smiled. They did not look like they were doing dual cultivation for the first time. Instead, they looked like Tao companions who had known each other for many years. Their hearts and minds were connected. It was as if they could understand each other's thoughts with just a look. This kind of dual cultivation at the highest level allowed both of them to be in each other. Their primordial spirit and vital qi, spirit and flesh, as well as their fates, were all fused together. There was no surprise in Su Fong's eyes. Although he did not know what had happened at this moment, everything else was not so important. Fairy Xuanxin was also not shy or reserved. Her face was calm, and there was no coldness or sadness in her eyes. Instead, they were filled with deep affection. Her whole body also exuded a different temperament and charm from before. However, when Su Fong saw that beautiful body, a pure yang fire suddenly emerged uncontrollably from his body. Blood immediately flowed out of his nose. "You bad guy!" A layer of pink instantly appeared on her white jade-like body. It was very alluring. Her flawless face was also flushed red. She no longer had her previous calmness. Whoosh, a Dao robe covered the charming and gentle scenery. Fairy Xuanxin walked away from Su Fong. Su Fong was disappointed. He was also depressed. They had become a true dual cultivation couple, but he still did not have any status. Fairy Xuanxin's pleasant voice sounded. "Everything I have is yours. Of course, that includes my body. If you want it, I can give it to you at any time." Like the sound of nature, Su Fong's eyes suddenly bloomed with a hale and hearty light. "At the same time, you are also mine. I also want," Fairy Xuanxin continued. However, this time, there was boundless shyness in her voice. Boom! Su Fong seemed to have been struck by the cauldron of lightning punishment again. He completely turned into a stone statue. Fairy Xuanxin's voice returned to normal. "Your body has just recovered. You need to examine it carefully to see if there are any side effects. I also gained a lot from the dual cultivation just now. I need to cultivate quickly and break through the bottleneck in one go. The days ahead are very long. There is no need to be greedy for the moment of joy in front of you." Whoosh, Fairy Xuanxin was right. Su Fong suppressed the restless flames in his body. He controlled his breathing and quickly calmed down. After inspecting his body, Su Fong was given a fright. It turned out that there was a layer of black impurities around his body. It was like shedding a layer of skin. There was also a layer of skin that had been damaged by the lightning punishment. He looked at his body again. It was sturdy and well-proportioned, as if it had been carefully sculpted. His entire body was filled with a strange sense of power. It exuded an awe-inspiring masculine aura. His every movement exuded an unparalleled charm. If there were other women present at this moment, they would most likely be excited, screaming, or even fainting on the spot. Su Fong couldn't help but steal a glance at Fairy Xuanxin. He thought to himself, she can actually control herself. As expected of the number one fairy. Her willpower is astonishing. How admirable. It wasn't just the surface of his body. Su Fong felt that his entire body, from inside out, and even the Tao Palace of Heaven and Earth, had transformed. Moreover, he could vaguely feel that there was something extra. Just as he was about to carefully inspect the inside of his body, suddenly, there was a burst of movement from the Yang meridian. Immediately after, an astonishing amount of pure Yang energy burned. It actually felt like it couldn't wait. The 26th Yang meridian is about to be born. This time, the birth of the Yang meridian came very fiercely. There was almost no need for Su Fong to deliberately attack it. Once he activated the 9 Yang 9 transformations, the illusory fire cloud and pure Yang primordial fire exploded from the depths of his body. The yin-yang Dao wheel burned and trembled. Then, a surge of flames with a surging aura swept past the yin-yang Dao wheel. The 26th yang meridian, that was burning with pure yang primordial fire, suddenly exploded with a bright light. Immediately after, it became a new yang meridian. The 26th yang meridian was unexpectedly and logically born. Chapter 1249. The yang meridian automatically moved and merged with one end of the 25th yang meridian of the yin-yang Dao wheel, forming a yin-yang Dao wheel made up of 26 yang meridians. Because of the extra yang meridian, the yin-yang Dao wheel made a circle, and the yang qi inside became more abundant. Every drop contained essence. Not only that, the yin-yang Dao wheel also had some very obvious divinity. Its divine power was amazing, and it even revealed the will of heaven. The quantity changed, and so did the quality. Master. It turned out that the sword spirit of the underworld Samsara sword took the initiative to speak. Samsara, I remember that when you were hit by the power of thunder punishment, you were also injured. How are you now? Su Fang asked with some concern. Thank you for your concern, Master. Although the thunder punishment cauldron is powerful, it is not a divine weapon after all. It is broken and incomplete. Although the samsara has suffered some damage, it is not important. That's good. Su Fang breathed a sigh of relief. At this time, he was gradually able to activate the power of the underworld samsara sword. This supreme Taoist weapon would be his most important helper in the future, and he did not dare to have the slightest loss. Master, in your heaven and earth Tao palace, the supreme divine power is even stronger. In the dark, I have a feeling that if I don't obey your orders and go against your will, I will be destroyed. The sword spirit's voice was full of awe, which had not been there before. The Xianming Thunder Archive suddenly said with a cold voice, Su Fang, I can feel a supreme will in the heaven and earth Tao palace. That is the divine power of thunder punishment, which makes me have to obey your will. It should be the power of thunder punishment that under the effect of some kind of power in your body, your godhood has transformed and become more divine. Su Fang asked, Then I will be able to activate you soon? The Xianming Thunder Archive replied, If you cultivate the Supreme Thunder method, you should be able to activate part of my power easily. The sword spirit of the samsara sword said with joy, It seems that Master is more and more likely to ascend to the heavens in the future, and I may also become a supreme divine weapon. Su Fang separated a young immortal and escaped into the blood jade. Law, are you okay? Law immediately said, Of course I'm fine. But you, this time, was extremely dangerous. But you can be considered a blessing in disguise. You have gained a lot this time. I just woke up, so I haven't had the time to take a closer look. Yin-Yang Dual Cultivation, TSK, the happiest thing for a cultivator. How could you bear to wake up? Luo's teasing immediately alerted Su Fang. Luo, did you peek at my dual cultivation with Xuanxin Fairy? No, absolutely not. What kind of person do you think I am? Luo responded firmly. This, he would never admit it. Su Fang was very suspicious. You're not a decent person, and you're developing into a shameless person. You should take a good look at the changes in your body first. You might be surprised. After a round of inspection, Su Fang was pleasantly surprised. The Dragon Taming Wood, Black Lotus True Body, Monarch True Body, Blood Transformation True Body, Illusory Fire Cloud, all of his abilities had undergone a metamorphosis as well. However, he would still have to slowly test out the extent of the metamorphosis. What surprised Su Fang even more was that there was a familiar power in his physical body, the power of thunder punishment. Although it was only scattered in various parts of his body and did not condense into meridians to run, this power was real. With a thought, a purple lightning glow emerged from his finger. There was a faint golden glow within it. Although it looked very weak, the terrifying lightning punishment will was above any lightning-type divine might. Su Fang hurriedly asked Law, I was hit by the thunder punishment cauldron, but why do I have the power of thunder punishment? What's going on? Your physical body and all kinds of abilities based on the perfect physical body were in a deadlock with the power of thunder punishment that tried to destroy you. The purple chi dharma spirit reversed your misfortune, and together with the special cold energy of fairy Xuanxin, your physical body finally merged with the power of thunder punishment, making it a new physical ability of yours. If you continue to cultivate, it is possible to cultivate a new real body. Thunder punishment real body. Thunder punishment real body. Another ability, and it was the terrifying power of thunder punishment. Su Fang was in ecstasy. Law praised again. I've heard that there are many supreme powerhouses in the myriad heavens who cultivate thunder techniques, but there are very few who have the thunder punishment real body. After all, the power of thunder punishment represents the destructive power of the heavenly Tao. Cultivate the thunder punishment real body well. Not only will it be a supreme ability for you to sweep through the immortal realm, but it will also be a powerful life-saving method when you enter the myriad heavens in the future. Su Fang, the luck brought to you by the purple chi dharma spirit is simply heaven-defying. Su Fang couldn't wait to ask, how do I cultivate the thunder punishment real body? I'm not sure. Maybe if you try being struck by thunder punishment a few times and use the tribulation lightning to temper your body, it might be effective. Being struck by thunder punishment? Su Fang's scalp tingled. He put the matter of the thunder punishment real body aside for now, and then asked, what's going on with my physical body? Everyone knows that thunder divine power can destroy everything, but they don't know that in the destruction there is also a huge power of life. Legend has it that the beginning of all things in the world was born in thunder and lightning. Those cultivators and big goblin, after surviving the heavenly tribulation, will immediately transform and step into a new height. This is the reason. Do you understand why there is such a change in the physical body? After destruction came new life. It turned out that all things in the world contained the Tao of reincarnation. Law suddenly said, Su Fang, you fell under the thunder punishment cauldron this time. If not for Fairy Xuanxin's dual cultivation with you, you would need at least 1,000 years or even longer to wake up. If you want to fully recover, it will take even longer, and it will be even more impossible for you to develop a yang meridian. Fairy Xuanxin's physique and her cultivation method will have unimaginable benefits for your future cultivation. Take advantage of it. From now on, Fairy Xuanxin is my woman. I will blend with her and become a part of each other. Even if she is of no use to me, I will treat her as sincerely as I treat myself. Su Fang's voice was filled with determination. Suddenly, Su Fang's voice suddenly became cold. Law, didn't you say you didn't see us dual cultivation? How do you know her physique and cultivation method? I definitely didn't see what I shouldn't have seen. Cough cough. Law's coughs came from the blood jade, and then there was no more sound. Law, you shameless, despicable guy, one day I will settle this account with you. Su Fang fiercely threatened, but he felt helpless. He really didn't have any good way to deal with Law. In the future, when doing certain things, it seemed that he had to be on guard against Law, or at least deceive the blood jade. Glancing at Fairy Xuanxin, who was in a state of cultivation, Su Fang's gaze softened. This woman was already an inseparable part of his life. He entered the divine aperture ocean. When he was hit by the thunder punishment cauldron, Su Fang used the divine life shrinking technique to fight with the will of the heavenly Tao in the thunder punishment cauldron. The divine life shrinking technique let out a clap of thunder, and many new Tao runes gushed out. Although Su Fang lost consciousness at that time, the feeling of enlightenment was very clear at this time. He used the divine life shrinking technique. A large number of mysterious Tao runes surged in his mind. There were Tao runes that he had cultivated before, and the new unfamiliar Tao runes were the ones that appeared when Su Fang lost consciousness. He deciphered the new Tao runes. All of a sudden, Su Fang gradually had the power to destroy the fate of others. Fate and creation, in control of the heavenly Tao. Heaven punishes me, I defy the heavenly Tao. Fate and creation, in control of the heavenly Tao. Earth buries me, I break the earth. The thunder of fate. This was a new ability that he comprehended from the divine life shrinking technique after fusing with the power of heavenly punishment. It was not the ability to deceive his own fate, nor was it the ability to forcibly seize the fate of others. It was a kind of ability similar to the thunder technique, the ability to destroy the enemy. Not only did it destroy the enemy's physical body and primordial spirit, as long as it was related to him in fate, he would directly obliterate it, as if this person had never appeared in the world. What a heaven-defying thunder of fate! Immediately, Su Fang peeled off a young immortal and entered the Origin Sacred Realms space. The divine artifact space was crimson, and still incomparably mysterious. Su Fang could finally walk in space, but it was still not that easy. It was very strenuous. After releasing his will and yang qi, a familiar 9-yin cold qi swept over from the depths of the void. The mysterious woman's voice sounded leisurely. Your 9-yang true qi has become pure. It looks like it won't take long for you to step into the third transformation of the 9-yang 9 transformations. Congratulations. Su Fang said, Senior, I have some doubts that I would like to ask. I was struck by the power of lightning punishment and obtained some Tao runes from the divine life shrinking technique. It seems to be an ability called the Thunder of Fate. The mysterious woman was stunned. The power of lightning punishment? The Thunder of Fate? Tell me in detail. Su Fang recounted the process of him being struck by the power of lightning punishment and almost dying, as well as the process of him obtaining the Thunder of Fate to the mysterious woman. I understand. The power of lightning punishment is the punishment of the heavenly Tao released by the big goblin to those cultivators who try to defy the heavens and change their fate. Your physical body is very powerful. It withstood and fused with the power of lightning punishment. At the same time, it changed your own fate and brought the power of heavenly Tao punishment to the divine life shrinking technique. Therefore, you have the powerful ability to represent the heavenly Tao and use lightning punishment on the fates of others. So that's how it is. Isn't the thunder of fate very powerful? The mysterious woman praised, using the power of lightning punishment to destroy the ethereal fate of others. What kind of divine power is this? How can it be just powerful? You have really profited from a disaster. Even I don't have such an ability. Go and comprehend it well. Then, she continued, however, although this ability is powerful, it also consumes a lot of life energy. Think about it, lightning punishment and fate are powers that only the heavenly Tao has. How can you compare to the heavenly Tao? It's best that you don't use it easily. It might instantly drain your life energy. Su Fang felt like a bucket of cold water had been poured over his head. He couldn't help but feel disappointed. Unexpectedly, the mysterious woman continued, however, if you have a lightning-type divine tool with your current cultivation, it will be difficult for you to use a divine tool even if you have one. If you have a supreme-grade Supreme Tao tool, you should be able to use the Thunder of Fate with the help of the Tao tool and the divine life shrinking technique. Su Fang was overjoyed. Wasn't the Xianming Lightning Archive a lightning-type Supreme Tao tool? He didn't expect that he would find the Supreme Lightning-type divine power to use the Xianming Lightning Archive from his own divine life shrinking technique in the end. You've finally dual cultivated with a woman this time. The yang qi in your body has reached a new height. This woman's physique and cultivation method are both extraordinary. If the two of you can further intertwine and do the deed between a man and a woman, the yang qi in your body will continue to transform. Soon, you will be able to form your 27th yang meridian and step into the third transformation. Continue to work hard. The mysterious woman's voice gradually faded away. Chapter 1250. Su Fang looked at Fairy Xuanxin. This woman was in a state of cultivation, and a cold air surrounded her, exuding a cold and holy aura. There was also a vast and shocking aura expanding in her body, about to explode. She was obviously at a critical moment in her cultivation. Both Luo and the mysterious woman in the Origin Sacred Mirror said that Fairy Xuanxin was extraordinary, so she must be very extraordinary, very extraordinary. If she hadn't been betrayed by Yen Xinxin, her achievements would have been amazing. Luo sighed in the depths of the blood jade. When you were asleep, Fairy Xuanxin didn't hesitate to save you with her primordial spirit, true qi, and even life essence, and almost lost her life. Between cultivators, the strong preys on the weak. Even family members and relatives will betray and betray. Although a cultivator's life is long, there aren't many people you can trust, and a Tao companion is even rarer. This woman is worth cherishing for your life. From the first time he met this woman to the entanglements of fate, scenes flashed in his mind. Hearing Luo's words, Su Fang felt warmth in his heart. If he experienced a reincarnation after escaping death, he would cherish life and the hard-won friendship even more. Then Su Fang's eyes flashed with sharpness. Yen Xinxin, you once cruelly hurt Xuanxin. It won't be long before I use your blood to pay for it. He took out an ancient spirit vein and inserted it into the array to help Xuanxin cultivate. Then Su Fang walked out of the array. Brother! Master! The experts and Big Goblin all rushed over, their eyes filled with joy. Su Fang was also touched. Original body, you've finally recovered. Second primordial spirit's cold voice sounded. Second primordial spirit, your body is seriously injured. Su Fang saw the seriously injured zombie emperor and couldn't help but frown. It's okay. When I get that supreme body in the god burial enclosure, I'll just change into a new one. Not bad. After absorbing the corpse emperor back into his crucible transformation cauldron, he continued to nourish him with various spiritual items to heal his injuries. After all, it was the fleshly body of an immortal emperor. It would be a pity to abandon it. Even if his second primordial spirit had no use for this fleshly body in the future, he could still refine it into a corpse puppet. His second essence soul also entered the heavenly fiend blood disk to devour and fuse with night demon. Swish, swish. One after another, human cultivators appeared in front of Su Fang. There were nearly 10,000 of them. Senior. Su Fang was very polite to Fairy Li. He gave her a large amount of medicinal pills to recover. Once her injuries were healed, she could leave at any time. The others did not receive such treatment, regardless of whether they were from the constellation of 9 heavens or the clear sky's myriad scrolls door. Su Fang showed his ruthless and domineering side. In order to save you, I paid a heavy price and almost died. Now I will give you 2 choices. Submit to me and work for me, or be imprisoned by me for 1,000 years. After 1,000 years, I will release you. Everyone had been captured by the demons and brought to Demon Dawn. If it weren't for Su Fang, their final fate would have been miserable. They had also witnessed Su Fang's overall strength with their own eyes. In addition to their current situation, when one of them spoke up to submit, the others all followed suit. Of course, there were also several hundred that refused to bow their head. They were directly taken into the Yellow Springs Great Emperor bottle by Su Fang. As for Red Kite, Su Fang didn't plan on letting her go. He kept her in the Yellow Springs Great Emperor bottle and waited until he had time to ask her about the boundless secular palace. He didn't do this to take revenge for being hunted down in the past, but to prevent her from leaking information to the Divine Palace young master. With this group of human cultivators, Su Fang's overall strength instantly increased by more than double. In a single breath, Su Fang took out several spirit veins and placed them in the ruins. He also took the corpses of demon and demonic cultivators that he had harvested from Demon Dawn and placed them into the crucible transformation furnace to be refined. Among them, there were great elder-level powerhouses that contained rich mortal essence. After refining the demonic energy and demon blood, They became cultivation resources for the Big Goblin and junior commanders. He also took out yin-yang immortal firmament pills, and all sorts of spiritual objects for the cultivators and Big Goblin to cultivate. This time, he obtained 5 world fragments from the demon and demonic cultivators and gave them all to the Big Goblin to cultivate. Now, Bai Ling and the other powerful Big Goblins all had world fragment. Seeing Su Fang's rich resources, the newly submitted cultivators were incomparably shocked. Even those that had other thoughts were willingly convinced. Dealing with all of this, his cold eyes swept over the masters and Big Goblin, as well as the junior commanders and human cultivators. Everyone fell silent, revealing awe and awe. After transforming, Su Fang had fused with the power of thunder tribulation. Now, he carried with him a supreme lightning attribute divinity, causing the masters and Big Goblin to revere him even more. To them, their master's will was the will of the heavenly Tao, something they could not defy. In the Battle of Demon Dawn, you all displayed a formidable strength. However, the demons have entered the immortal realm. A great war is inevitable, and I have become a thorn in their side. Moreover, besides the demons, my enemies are also Emperor Tranquility's mansion, Heavenly Tao Immortal World, and other immortal emperor influences. Our strength is far from enough. Strength. Don't hesitate to consume resources to increase your strength. The masters, Big Goblin, junior commanders, and human cultivators all responded in unison, "We obey master's orders." After learning that Green Feather King had left with the Leviathan monster, Su Fang couldn't help but sigh. When he had seen the Leviathan monster in the monster-raising cave, he had already been in a state of near death. Afterwards, he had relied on the yin-yang immortal firmament pill to recover a little. In the fierce battles at Demon Dawn, the Leviathan monster might have. At the very least, the Leviathan monster fought a great battle with a peak immortal emperor powerhouse before his death. With Green Feather King accompanying him, his death can be considered a worthy one. Su Fang sighed inwardly. He returned to the array formation where Fairy Xuanxin was cultivating. After settling down for a long time, he already had a plan in his heart. First, he would digest his harvests at Demon Dawn. Although he had undergone a complete transformation, he was still like a seedling that had just emerged from thunder. He was far from being restored to his peak state. There was also the various abilities he had obtained after his mortal body metamorphosed. There was also the Thunder of Destiny, Thunder Punishment True Body, Thunder Punishment Cauldron, and other Tao tools that he had obtained. He needed to constantly digest all of this and rapidly transform it into a formidable strength. He definitely had to go to the God-burying enclosure. He had to break the seal and obtain the Immortal Emperor Yu's supreme mortal body, gaining the strength to contend with an Immortal Emperor powerhouse. He also had to make a trip to the Candle Sky Thunder World. According to the Thought Manifestation Sage's map, he would find the strange flame of Thunder's fury. Not only would he be able to cultivate the illusion Fire Cloud, but he might also be able to cultivate the Thunder Punishment True Body. He would fulfill the blood oath and kill Yen Xin. Then, he would find a way to find Immortal Emperor Tian Ong and obtain the third part of the Purple Cloud Law Spirit. As for the boundless secular palace, he didn't know whether or not Divine Palace young Master Gong Yu had found it. But Red Kite was currently in the Yellow Springs Great Emperor's bottle. When the time came, he would ask her about it. He entered the Crucible Transformation Realm. Hua! His mortal body shattered, turning into a pool of blood. After swallowing a part of the Dark Jade Demon Emperor's body, Su Fang's Yellow Springs Blood Sea now covered an astonishing area of over 1,500 feet. With the increase in area, not only did the Yellow Springs Blood Sea's devouring ability become even more abnormal, the power of its various divine abilities also increased. However, the Devil Chi, Devil Poison, and Death Chi in the Blood Demon's body caused considerable damage to the Yellow Springs Blood Sea. Fortunately, the cauldron of thunder punishment had cleansed his body, cleansing all of these things. Otherwise, Su Fang would need many years and a lot of energy to refine these side effects. After all, that was the mortal body of a peak immortal emperor. With a single thought, a red pill appeared above the pool of blood. This pill was the incomparably huge gorilla devil that had been refined by the treasured mirror. As it was completely condensed from energy, there wasn't a trace of pill fragrance, but one could sense the majestic pure yang energy contained within it. When the pill fell into the pool of blood, its skin gradually melted. Suddenly, an unparalleled pure yang energy burst out, causing the pool of blood to boil immediately, burning with astonishing flames of life. It was as if a roaring wave had been set off out of nowhere, vast and surging. After refining this pill, Su Fang's cultivation realm would not only be greatly improved, but the Yellow Springs Blood Sea would also undergo a transformation. Moreover, the abundant pure yang energy would constantly impact the yang meridian, and it wouldn't be long before the 27th yang meridian was born. However, it would definitely take a long time to completely refine this pill. At the same time, Su Fang also separated himself from the Yang Immortal and entered the Cauldron Transformation formation to refine and integrate with the Cauldron of Thunder Punishment. This supreme Dao tool was on the same level as the Xianming Lightning Scroll. Although it had become broken, it still possessed astonishing power. Moreover, the Cauldron of Thunder Punishment had the ability to devour lightning tribulations, which would be of great use in the future. Not only for Su Fang, but also for those big goblin. Su Fang also thought that the Cauldron of Thunder Punishment could be used to deal with Huang Lingyao's Yunshao lightning sword. In addition to cultivating various cultivation techniques, Su Fang focused on comprehending the new ability that he had just obtained from the Heavenly Secret Life shrinking technique. Lightning of Destiny. He couldn't directly use this ability now, but he could activate the Xianming Lightning Scroll. What kind of terrifying power would it have to activate a Supreme Dao tool like the Xianming Lightning Scroll with the Supreme Destiny Divine ability? Just thinking about it in his heart made Su Fang's heart beat wildly. About 5 years passed. The Yellow Springs Blood Sea suddenly rolled and turned into a physical state. Su Fang flew out of the Cauldron Transformation formation, his body bursting with tribulation chi. The tribulation fire continued to burn. Probably because of the transformation of his physical body, the impurities that came out of his body were fewer than ever before. Soon, they were burned to ashes by the tribulation fire. The impact of the promotion swept through his body. The promotion force completely stabilized his newly transformed physical body, and his cultivation realm broke through a step, stepping into the third Dao realm of the Feather Immortal Realm. His mortal body had undergone nirvana? Transformation, 26 Yang Meridians had been born, he had stepped into the third Dao realm of the Feather Immortal Realm, and he had even obtained the body and mind of the number 1 fairy maiden. This adventure into Demon Dawn Frontier had brought him an incomparably rich harvest. No wonder Luo Yi had said that great dangers also contained great opportunities. As he stabilized his third Dao realm, he also examined the abilities of his mortal body after its transformation. He released his Great Perfection ability. At this time, his Great Perfection ability could sense up to 70 to 80 miles. It had to be known that in these ruins, his sense ability would be suppressed. If he were in the natural world, this number would be multiplied. One with his Great Perfection ability, he suddenly sensed Fairy Maiden Li's aura. After she had recovered a year ago, she had left these ruins, so why had she returned? Galvanizing his Great Perfection ability, Su Fang saw a scene that caused his body to emit a fierce, killing intent. So, Fairy Maiden Li was being hunted down by someone and was running for her life. Fairy Maiden Li wasn't running for her life by herself. There were 2 other old men with her. One of them was a blue-robed old man whose strength was at the level of the Great Elder, and the other was a white-robed old man. He was Nether Mystic. There were over 100 powerhouses chasing after Nether Mystic. Looking at their robes, they should belong to the Heavenly Tao Immortal World's Heavenly Tao White Sun sect. Chapter 1251. Hu Sufang's murderous aura surged as he stood up. Suddenly, what's wrong? Fairy Xuanxin, who had been trying to break through the bottleneck, suddenly spoke with her primordial spirit. The two of them cultivated yin and yang, so their fates were connected and their minds were the same. She sensed Su Fang's murderous intent. An old friend is being hunted down by an enemy. It doesn't matter. You can cultivate in peace, Su Fang said plainly. This cultivation session was very important to Xuanxin Goddess. He couldn't cause her heart to waver. Hence, Su Fang didn't tell her that Xian Yintian was being hunted by the celestial plane. Be careful. Xian Xian Fairy reminded him, and once again immersed herself in her cultivation. Su Fang passed through the array and arrived in front of his subordinate. He immediately revealed his domineering aura. There's a strong enemy. Prepare to fight. His subordinates immediately became excited, especially the violent big goblin. At the same time, he contacted the second primordial spirit in the heavenly demon blood plate. Second primordial spirit, can we fight now? The second primordial spirit's arrogant voice sounded. I've already swallowed half of Night Demon. My primordial spirit can crush an ordinary immortal emperor, but the corpse emperor's body is a bit weak. It doesn't matter. In addition to the corpse emperor's body, there's also the desolate demon's body in Demon Dawn Fortress. It can still be used. It doesn't matter if it's damaged. With two immortal emperor-level bodies in his hands, Su Fang seemed very confident. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The experts and Big Goblin entered the Crucible Transformation realm. The other small commanders and the newly subdued cultivators were taken into the Yellow Spring Great Emperor bottle by Su Fang. He also left behind some Big Goblin and experts to protect Fairy Xuanxin. Su Fang directly activated the feather fan and flew across the sky like a meteor. At this time, he could already activate the full power of the feather fan. His speed was not inferior to that of a powerhouse like the Great Elder. The powerhouses of the Heavenly Law Immortal Realm chased after them. Xian Yintian, Fairy Li, and another old man fled in panic. Xian Yintian looked dispirited and his breath was chaotic. His white beard was stained with blood. It was obvious that he was seriously injured. Otherwise, with his strength, his speed would not have fallen to the same level as Fairy Li. The old man with an otherworldly and elegant aura was slightly weaker than Xian Yintian, but he was still a powerful elder. He also seemed to be seriously injured. Suddenly Xian Yintian stopped and said, "You two can go first. I'll stay here and cover your retreat." The Venerable One asked in surprise, "Didn't Fairy Li of the Brahma Meditation sect say that Su Fang and Xuanxin Fairy are just ahead and have countless experts under their command? Why did Brother Xian change his mind?" Xian Yintian said in a deep voice, "Su Fang was able to save Xuanxin from the devil race. His courage and strength are extraordinary. It's true that he has powerful experts around him. But this time, the ones chasing after us are the Immortal Emperor Long Lingjun under Immortal Emperor Tianong, and the elites of Heavenly Tao Immortal Domain and Heavenly Tao White Sun sect. Even if I die in battle, I can't lead them to them." So, after Xian Yintian learned that Xuanxin Fairy had been kidnapped by the devil race, he immediately rushed from the Clear Sky Thousand Scroll Gate to the Shenlan Immortal Domain and charged into the turbulent abyss. Who knew that the spatial turbulence in the torn zone would be stirred up by the Kuan demon and become even more difficult to pass through. Although Xian Yintian's strength was amazing, he was still swept into the extraterritorial space-time turbulence. After finally escaping from the extraterritorial space-time turbulence and rushing back to the immortal Ao Great World, the exhausted Xian Yintian encountered the Heavenly Tao Immortal Domain's expert Long Lingjun. The other party suddenly attacked and Xian Yin Tian escaped with serious injuries. He fled to his good friend Master Piaron's place. Long Lingjun followed and chased him all the way to this void. On the way, he met Fairy Li. From Fairy Li, Xian Yin Tian learned the whereabouts of Su Fang and Xuanxin Fairy and was overjoyed. But because Master Piaron was an outsider, Fairy Li didn't expose Su Fang's full strength. She only vaguely told Xian Yin Tian that Su Fang had many experts under him and could resist the Heavenly Tao Immortal Domain's pursuit. Unexpectedly, Xian Yin Tian was worried that he would bring disaster to Xuanxin Fairy and suddenly changed his mind. Without waiting for Fairy Li and Master Piaron to persuade him, Xian Yin Tian unleashed his aura and turned to kill the Heavenly Tao Immortal Domain's expert. Fairy Li and Master Piaron hesitated for a moment and followed Xian Yin Tian. Buzz! He slightly activated the life-shrinking technique and combined it with his great perfection ability to sense Xian Yin Tian's whereabouts. Seeing Xian Yin Tian's actions clearly, Su Fang was shocked. Not good. Then, Su Fang showed a puzzled expression. The Heavenly Tao Immortal Domain's experts actually surrounded Xian Yin Tian and didn't intend to kill or capture him alive. It seemed like they were waiting for something. Su Fang was very surprised. After a while, he released all his subordinates and ordered them to surround the Heavenly Tao Immortal Domain's experts on both sides. He himself drove the feather fan forward with all his strength. Less than 100 miles away, Su Fang drove the feather fan and appeared in front of everyone in just a few breaths. Su Fang. Xian Yin Tian was surprised at first, but then he shouted coldly, "What are you doing here? Hurry up and leave." Hua! More than a dozen Heavenly Tao Immortal Domains experts came across the sky and surrounded Su Fang. "You are Su Fang? You are indeed still alive." The person who spoke was wearing a yellow robe with a 5-clawed golden dragon that was lifelike. He had an amazing aura of a ruler. Su Fang's great perfection ability sensed that there were dragon shadows in this person's Emperor Qi. In this immortal domain, only Immortal Emperor Tian Ang's clansmen or the peerless experts under him could possess both Emperor Qi and Dragon Qi at the same time. This person was a supreme expert under Immortal Emperor Tian Ang, Long Lingjun. This person's words made Su Fang's eyebrows furrow, and his eyes exuded doubt. "Take this person down. Remember to leave him with one last breath." Long Lingjuan's aura sank, and he said in a domineering voice, as if he was treating Su Fang as a weak chicken to be slaughtered. "Yes, Lord." An old man came out from Long Lingjuan's side with an arrogant aura. Looking at his clothes, as well as the Emperor's Qi and Dragon's Qi, this person didn't come from the White Sun sect. Instead, he was a direct subordinate of the Dragon Tomb Lord. His cultivation had reached the level of a powerful elder, similar to Lin Yihan and the Baimo monarch. "Finally, I can fight with the experts under Immortal Emperor Tian Ang." Su Fang's battle intent burned. The third part of the Purple Qi Law Spirit had fallen into the hands of Immortal Emperor Tian Ang. There would be a battle sooner or later, and now it was a good time to use the experts under him to warm up. "Su Fang, hurry up and leave. I will hold them back." Xian Yin Tian shouted anxiously through his Yuan spirit. "Leave?" Su Fang smiled faintly and replied with his Yuan spirit, "Senior, don't worry. I will deal with everything. You just need to protect yourself." Xian Yin Tian raised his white eyebrows, and his eyes were filled with anger. Just as he was about to attack, Fairy Maiden Li's Yuan spirit suddenly said, "Senior, watch from the side. Su Fang has the strength to deal with all of this." Su Fang could deal with Long Lingjun, an immortal emperor, and more than 100 experts from the Heavenly Tao Immortal Realm? "Why don't you surrender?" The old man from the Heavenly Tao Immortal Realm burst out with his Emperor Qi, forming a shackle that shrouded the void around Su Fang as if he was the supreme ruler of this space. Then, step by step, he charged towards Su Fang. He opened his big hand and grabbed at Su Fang. The shadow of a dragon claw enveloped Su Fang, intending to shackle Su Fang directly. In this person's view, Su Fang was under the suppression of his ruler's aura. How could he not tremble and his will collapse? I, Su Fang, am not a weak chicken that can be slaughtered at will. Su Fang suddenly burst out with the supreme ruler's aura. The emperor's seal merged with the purple Qi law spirit, making Su Fang's divine aura superior to any emperor's. It also merged with the power of the thunder punishment, making Su Fang's ruler's divine aura have a supreme will of the heavenly Tao. How could a great elder's emperor's divine aura contend against it? The old man's aura shattered, and the shadow of the dragon claw also turned into nothingness. Instead, he was suppressed by Su Fang's ruler's divine aura. His whole body trembled, and his eyes were filled with disbelief. Boom! Su Fang took advantage of the situation to attack, but he did not form any hand seals to activate any divine ability. Instead, he directly used the strength of his perfect physical body to burst out with powerful physical strength. A cultivator who mastered Dragon Qi would have a very strong physical body, and their yang energy would also be very shocking. However, they would not have the other abilities of a perfect physical body. It turned out that Su Fang wanted to test the strength of this person's physical body. You want to compete with me in terms of physical strength? You're courting death. The old man laughed sinisterly. His whole body emitted a strong dragon qi, his muscles bulged, and dragon scales formed on his face and exposed skin. He fiercely punched towards Su Fang. Boom! There was no explosion of aura, only a powerful physical body and the yang energy of both sides. Puff! The old man's body was sent flying, and blood spurted out of his mouth. Su Fang's body shook. Not only was he not injured, he did not even take a step back. His face was filled with strong confidence. His physical body had been reborn, and its strength had reached a new level. Just in terms of physical strength, it was far superior to the old man's physical body that was cultivated with Dragon Qi. The land of the earth is the land of the emperor. Su Fang was not going to let the old man go. He suddenly formed a hand seal, and a burst of emperor's qi exploded from his body. With the aura of a ruler and the loftiness of an overlord, it formed a shocking shackle that enveloped the old man. Overlord Emperor's Heaven Technique. How do you know the supreme divine ability of Emperor Ning's residence? In this immortal realm, only Emperor Ning's residence's way of the emperor could suppress the heavenly law immortal realm. In the past, when Emperor Ning killed a peerless genius of the heavenly law immortal realm, he also used the Overlord Emperor's Heaven Technique. Now it was actually used by Su Fang. Not only the old man who was fighting with Su Fang, but even Long Lingjun, Xian Yintian, and the others exclaimed, "Emperor's Fist, boundless divine power." With the aura of a ruler that could conquer all directions, Su Fang ran like thunder and instantly arrived in front of the old man. Yellow Dragon Claw. Although the old man's body was not unable to move, his emperor's qi was suppressed, and he hurriedly formed a hand seal to counterattack. Rumble. The old man's move was slow, and he was restrained everywhere. He had just struck out a huge golden claw, but before it could form an imposing aura, it was shattered by Su Fang's overbearing fist. Su Fang's imposing aura did not diminish, and his fist landed solidly on the old man's chest. The old man's qi field was shattered, and his powerful body resisted Su Fang's attack, but his internal organs were still injured by the overbearing fist. He spat out a mouthful of blood with broken internal organs, and his body was sent flying more than 100 feet away. A powerful great elder of the heavenly law immortal realm was seriously injured. The old man's carelessness was one thing, but Su Fang's attack was not only powerful, but the suppression of the old man's emperor's qi and the fierce and decisive attack were the most important. Shock, horror, all the experts of the heavenly law immortal realm were dumbfounded. Xian Yintian's old face was also filled with disbelief. The first time he saw Su Fong in the clear sky Thousand Scroll Gate, what kind of strength did he have at that time? How many years had passed, and now he had the astonishing strength to defeat the powerful Great Elder. This kid, is he still human? Su Fong, you are indeed extraordinary, but if you think that you can be arrogant in front of this emperor because of the divine ability of Emperor Ning's mansion, then you are gravely mistaken. Long Lingjuan's voice was filled with supreme arrogance, and he gave up on Xian Yintian and went straight to Su Fong. If you think that you can be arrogant in front of me because you are an immortal emperor expert, then you are gravely mistaken. Su Fong sneered coldly. Few. A figure with a strong aura of death suddenly appeared in front of Su Fong. Corpse Emperor. Long Lingjun revealed a shocked and surprised expression. Chapter 1252. Long Lingjun's expression was solemn as he glanced at the Corpse Emperor. To be able to control a Corpse Emperor. Su Fong, your methods really shocked this emperor. You relied on this Corpse Emperor to escape from Emperor Ing of Ning Emperor Manor in Huang Ling of Shenlan Nation, right? Su Fong sneered. Now, do you still think I have the right to be arrogant in front of you? Long Ling Jun said in disdain. This emperor still has hundreds of experts under me. One Corpse Emperor is far from enough. Hand over ethereal truth and follow this emperor to Tian Dao Immortal World. Lord Immortal Emperor will grant you immortality, and might even give you great benefit. Just as he said that, swish, swish, swish. Experts, Big Goblin, and more than 30,000 small commanders and cultivators gathered from all directions, forming a large encirclement that surrounded the experts of Tian Dao Immortal World. Kill, leave the corpse behind, Su Fong said in a cold voice. His subordinates surrounded from all directions, forming a huge aura that made the experts of Tian Dao Immortal World tremble, their will to fight almost shattered. Second primordial spirit controlled the Corpse Emperor and was about to kill. Go! Without any hesitation, Long Lingjun turned around and joined the 100+ experts of the Heavenly Law Immortal World. He formed a seal with both hands and a dense dragon chi surged out along with a dragon roar. It emitted a supreme divine might that enveloped all the experts of the Heavenly Law Immortal World. Then a golden shadow quickly formed into a 300-meter-long giant golden dragon that soared into the sky with a shocking aura. Su Fong was about to let second primordial spirit out when Luo's voice came from the blood jade in his body. This ability of Tian Dao Immortal World is very extraordinary and has the supreme majesty of a divine dragon. It has a deterrent effect on primordial spirit. It's too late to let second primordial spirit make a move now. Su Fong could only give up, but he was not willing to give up. The divine dragon formed by Long Lingjun's ability swung its tail and shook Su Fong's subordinates, tearing a crack in the encirclement. Su Fong, I've underestimated you. I'll let you off this time, but the next time I see you, I'll definitely take your head. Long Lingjuan's voice filled with killing intent came from the divine dragon formed by the divine ability. He even controlled the divine dragon to circle in the sky. How arrogant! The next second you're just a phantom with the aura of a worm. How dare you be so arrogant? A gigantic azure pung, which looked like a gigantic eagle that had been enlarged infinitely, tore through the void from afar with a whoosh. It instantly traversed a distance of 3,000 meters at an unbelievable speed. When it was still 50 to 60 feet away from the divine dragon, the giant azure pung flapped its wings fiercely, setting off waves of turbulence that converged into a storm and surged towards the divine dragon. The divine dragon was swept up by the turbulent storm, and its huge body was tumbling. The gigantic green pung arrived in an instant, bringing with it an astonishing aura that could tear through time and space as it collided with the divine dragon. Rumble! After all, the divine dragon was only formed by the divine ability and not a real divine dragon. It instantly shattered, and the experts of the Heavenly Law Immortal World fell out from it. The azure Pung let out a series of violent cries, and struck out a series of azure light claw prints with astonishing aura, instantly tearing the bodies of 4 or 5 experts into pieces, and a rain of blood fell from the void. Azure Feather King. This giant Azure Pung was Azure Feather King in his demon form. Su Fang was pleasantly surprised. Many of Su Fang's subordinates also exclaimed in surprise. Then he burst out with his aura and charged towards the experts of the heavenly law immortal world. Second Primordial Spirit also came out and joined forces with Azure Feather King to fight Long Lingjun. Long Lingjun and the experts of the heavenly law immortal world suddenly felt cold all over, as if they had fallen into an ice hole. Strange, how did Azure Feather King's strength soar to such an extent that he's only a step away from becoming a demon emperor? Moreover, he became so violent. What happened? Su Fang activated his great perfection ability to sense Azure Feather King, and found that he was not out of control like those who were affected by the change of heaven and earth. Only then did he feel relieved. Second Primordial Spirit and Azure Feather King, who was close to becoming a demon emperor, plus so many experts, Big Goblin, tens of thousands of small commanders and cultivators, it was a complete siege situation. Su Fang could not intervene at all, so he met up with Xian Yintian. "You brat," Xian Yintian pointed at Su Fang, completely losing the demeanor of a celestial emperor expert. He was both amazed and overjoyed. He was amazed at Su Fang's strength and the powerful forces he controlled. What made Xian Yintian overjoyed was that his precious granddaughter had found such an amazing Tao companion. Back then, because Su Fang's strength was too low, he strongly opposed it. Good, Xuanxin has good taste. Xian Yintian could not help but laugh heartily, very proud. Your granddaughter and I became Tao companions, it has nothing to do with her taste. Su Fang of course could only think these words in his heart. He would not dare to say it even if he was beaten to death. The experts of heavenly law immortal world only lasted for 2 or 3 breaths before they were killed and surrendered. Only Long Lingjun was left to fight alone, but he was also an arrow at the end of its flight and could not hold on for long. Roar. Long Lingjun suddenly burst out with an earth-shattering roar. His body turned into a monster with a dragon body. His aura also rose sharply, striking out a series of astonishing claw prints, forcing Corpse Emperor and Azure Feather King back again and again. What kind of divine ability is this? Su Fang was shocked. This is Heavenly Law Immortal World's divine dragon transformation. When cultivated to the extreme, you can transform into a divine dragon and have some of the innate abilities of a divine dragon. It is a famous supreme divine ability in the great immortal world. However, Long Lingjun obviously has not cultivated it to the extreme. He can only transform into half of a dragon. Xian Yintian said aloud, full of awe for this supreme divine ability. Long Lingjun was about to break out of the encirclement. Su Fang suddenly flew into the sky, shocking Xian Yintian. Try to trap him. Sending a Yuan Shin voice to Green Feather King and Azure Feather King, Su Fang flipped his wrist and the Origin Saint Mirror appeared in his hand. Corpse Emperor suddenly let out a death roar, shaking Long Lingjun's body slightly. Azure Feather King's wings flapped rapidly, setting off a whirlpool-shaped violent spacetime turbulence that circled around Long Lingjun. The huge spacetime distortion and shackling force suddenly made Long Lingjun unable to move. At this moment, Su Fang's eyes shone with divine light, a sensing force locked onto Long Lingjun. If you were in your normal state, I would not be able to borrow the power of the mirror to kill cultivators. Since you have transformed into a divine dragon, then, Su Fang sneered, the Origin Saint Mirror was erected and aimed at Long Lingjun. He activated the power of 9 suns in his body and entered the Origin Saint Mirror. A red light instantly shrouded Long Lingjun's upper body. Being surrounded, Long Lingjun was originally fearless, but now he was shocked and terrified, as if he felt that doomsday was coming. He began to struggle, his body bursting with astonishing dragon chi. Who knew that as the 9 suns' true fire burned in the red light, the dragon chi was quickly incinerated, and even the upper body that had transformed into a dragon was burning. Amidst a painful roar, Long Lingjuan's upper body began to spontaneously combust, layers of impurities and a disgusting stench seeping out of Long Lingjuan's body. Suddenly, hiss! A golden xianguang suddenly emerged from Long Lingjuan's head, and a supreme divine aura spread out. Under the pressure of this divine aura, even Azure Feather King was forced to retreat, and the weaker ones could not even fly. Only Corpse Emperor, who was controlled by second Yuan Shun, was unaffected. Suddenly, a thunderous voice came from the blood jade in the depths of Luo Zai's body. Quickly put away the mirror, even the purple Qi Law spirit need to be hidden. That is Immortal Emperor Tian Ang's Yuan Shun avatar. If he knows that you have such a divine tool and purple Qi Law spirit, he will definitely come personally. You are not his opponent for now. Su Fang quickly put away the Origin Saint Mirror, and then activated the Heaven Secret Life shrinking technique, completely concealing the aura of the purple Qi Law spirit. The 9 suns' true fire on Long Lingjuan's body gradually extinguished. His upper body was already burnt like charcoal, and there was still black smoke coming out. Even so, he was still not dead, showing how strong his body was after cultivating dragon qi, but he only had half of his life left. The Xian Guang suddenly changed, turning into a majestic figure. Although the face could not be seen clearly, there was a shocking divine aura, as if it was the supreme ruler of heaven and earth, able to make all things submit or even destroy it. What a supreme, immortal emperor! Just a Yuan Shun avatar had such terrifying divine aura, compared to the leader of the constellation of 9 heavens that Su Fang had seen before. It was much more terrifying. After all, this was a newly ascended immortal emperor, and no one knew how long Immortal Emperor Tian Ang had been a supreme immortal emperor. Su Fang now had a very clear understanding of the gap between himself and Immortal Emperor Tian Ang. The road to take back the third part of the purple Qi Law spirit was very long. From the Yuan Shen avatar of Immortal Emperor Tian Ang, Su Fang also felt the aura of the purple Qi Law spirit, but it had already fused closely with the monarch Qi. This made Su Fang's heart filled with killing intent. Immortal Emperor Tian Ang's avatar suddenly said, "What kind of Dao tool is this, to be able to cause such damage? In this immortal realm, there is someone who dares to kill the immortal emperors of my heavenly Dao Immortal Emperor. Who is it? Let me see who dares to not put me in his eyes." Xian Yintian hurriedly reminded, "Su Fang, you must not stand out. Once Immortal Emperor Tian Ang knows your aura, you will not be able to escape from him in the future." "Thank you, Senior, for reminding me. It's okay." Smiling at Xian Yintian, Su Fang flew to Long Lingjuan's side. Looking sideways at Immortal Emperor Tian Ang's avatar, Su Fang said proudly, "Are you saying that only the heavenly Dao Immortal Realm can kill people at will, and others can't kill people from the heavenly Dao Immortal Realm? The Immortal Emperor's principle is very domineering." "It's you?" Immortal Emperor Tian Ang's avatar emitted a sensing force, with a shocking pressure, and swept across Su Fang's body. His body trembled, and then Su Fang straightened his body. With his perfect physical body and various abilities, an immortal emperor's consciousness could not suppress him. Su Fang mocked. "As far as I know, a peerless genius of the heavenly Dao Immortal Realm was killed by Tranquility Emperor. Why did you swallow your anger in the end?" So Immortal Emperor Tian Ang's domineering is only for cultivators weaker than the heavenly Dao Immortal Realm. Facing the real experts of the heavenly Dao Immortal Realm. Haha, Immortal Emperor is just a person who bullies the weak and fears the strong. Immortal Emperor Tian Ang said lightly, "In front of me, you are not even an ant. What qualifications do you have to judge me? Let Long Lingjun go, destroy your own cultivation, and I will grant you immortality, otherwise you can't die even if you want to." Let Long Lingjun go, and destroy my own cultivation? Immortal Emperor, do you think you are the heavenly Tao? Su Fang mocked. In the next second, Su Fang suddenly let out a fierce voice, "Destroy this avatar." Immortal Emperor Tian said disdainfully, "Aunt, you are not qualified to hurt my avatar." Chapter 1253. One of Immortal Emperor Tian's primordial spirit doppelganger was killed by Su Fang's second primordial spirit. This was a supreme Immortal Emperor's primordial spirit doppelganger, not some cat or dog. What kind of powerful primordial spirit power was needed to kill a supreme Immortal Emperor's primordial spirit doppelganger so easily? So domineering, so strong. The big goblin, experts, and small commanders who had been with Su Fang for a long time did not feel anything. Xian Yintian, Fairy Li, the surviving experts of Heavenly Law Immortal World, White Sun Sect, and the cultivators who had submitted to Su Fang were all shocked and fearful. Master Pierron's face was pale, his body trembled, and beads of sweat rolled down from his forehead. Su Fang's sharp eyes swept across the surrendered experts of Heavenly Law Immortal World, and his voice was full of killing intent. Heavenly Law Immortal World and White Sun Palace, don't leave anyone alive, kill them all. Kill, kill, kill. Su Fang's order was carried out decisively. The experts and Big Goblin immediately took action, killing the surviving experts of Heavenly Law Immortal World, and the corpses were eaten by the Big Goblin. This time, those who had followed Long Lingjun to kill Xian Yintian were all experts, and the weakest was at the level of an elder. Their bodies were full of essence, and the Big Goblin had a good meal. As for the half-dead Long Lingjun, he was sealed by Su Fang and kept in the shackles of the crucible transformation, waiting to be dealt with later. Su Fang's decisiveness shocked Xian Yintian once again. His impression of Su Fang was completely overturned. Not only is his cultivation speed and power shocking, he also controls a strong force and possesses a supreme divine weapon. Moreover, he is ruthless and resolute in his actions. In the future, he will definitely not be an ordinary person. He will definitely be an overlord in the fairy region. Previously, not only did the Star Palace and the 10,000 Scrolls door look down on him, even Master Pierron's back was soaked with sweat, and he clasped his fist at Xian Yintian and forced a smile. "Brother Xian, now that you are out of danger, I will take my leave now. I will talk to you again in the future." Xian Yintian hurriedly urged him to stay. "Brother Pierron, you have risked your life to save me this time. You haven't thanked me yet. How can you leave like this?" Master Immortal Pierron insisted on leaving, but Su Fang suddenly stopped him. "Wait. Young Master Su Fang, there's no need to keep him. Brother Xian and I have been friends for hundreds of thousands of years. Now that he's in danger, it's only right for me to save him. I still have matters to attend to, so I won't disturb young Master Su Fang any longer," Master Pierron said politely. Su Fang's eyes suddenly emitted a cold and sharp light. "Did I say I wanted you to stay as a guest? I asked you to stay because I want you to tell me how Senior Xian Yintian was chased by the Dragon Tomb Lord." Immortal Master Pierron's face darkened. He said coldly, "What? Does young Master Su Fang suspect me?" Xian Yintian also hurriedly said, "Su Fang, don't misunderstand. It's all thanks to Brother Pierron. Otherwise, I would have been killed by the Dragon Tomb Lord. How would I have the chance to see you?" Su Fang was unmoved. He asked Master Pierron coldly, "With Senior Xian Yintian's strength, even if he was injured, it wouldn't be hard for him to escape the Dragon Tomb Lord's pursuit. Then I want to ask Immortal Master Pierron, how could the Dragon Tomb Lord have been able to track him all this time if no one informed him?" Immortal Master Pierron sneered and didn't explain. Su Fang continued, "And just now, the Dragon Tomb Lord caught up to Senior Xian Yintian but didn't kill him. It's not hard to tell from his words that he already knew I was here. He was waiting for me to save him so he could take me down in one fell swoop. I entered the demon race's nest and barely escaped. No one outside knows. Senior Lee met with you guys and only you guys know where I am. Immortal Master Piaron, tell me, how did the Dragon Tomb Lord know where I am? Immortal Master Piaron replied coldly, how would I know? Maybe it was Fairy Lee who informed the Dragon Tomb Lord. I believe Senior Lee, it can't be him. Without waiting for Fairy Lee to explain, Su Fong said firmly. In Huang Zhe Star Realm, Fairy Lee knew Su Fong was Ghostface Rakshasa. If she wanted to betray Su Fong, she would have been hunted down by the 8 forces. He was definitely someone she could trust. Fairy Lee was very touched. Young Master Su Fong, could it be that your eyes have turned red from killing, and you even want to kill me, Brother Xian's close friend who saved his life? You want to frame me based on mere guesses and assumptions? What a domineering Su Fong! If you can't find any evidence, then I won't accompany you. Brother Xian, goodbye. Immortal Master Piaron said angrily and turned to leave. While Xian Yin Tian was hesitating, Su Fong suddenly shouted coldly, my guess is the evidence, I can decide your life and death. Second Primordial Spirit, go. Master Piaron was surrounded by Lord Bamo, Dai Yong and the 5 ghosts. The second primordial spirit released its power and broke through the defense of Immortal Master Piaron's divine aperture. In less than a breath, it successfully took over his body. If it weren't for Xian Yin Tian, Su Fong would have killed him directly. He didn't need to waste time. The second primordial spirit swallowed Immortal Master Piaron's consciousness and searched his soul. Sure enough, from Immortal Master Piaron's memories, he learned that although this person's identity was a rogue cultivator, he was actually a master in Tian Dao's celestial realm. He had approached Xian Yin Tian and became his best friend because he wanted to know about the Gate of Thousand Scrolls in Qing Tian. Xian Yin Tian was ashamed and angry. He patted Su Fong's shoulder. I'm still old. Take me to see Xuanxin. Law also praised in the Blood Jade, Su Fong, if you want to become an overlord and become a supreme master, you should be decisive and ruthless like this time. You've grown a lot over the years. Su Fong shook his head and responded, it's not enough to be ruthless. Next, I'll have to face the fierce revenge of Immortal Emperor Tianong. It's a bit troublesome. The third part of the purple Qi Dharma spirit fell into the hands of Immortal Emperor Tianong. You've become a great enemy of him. Sooner or later, there will be a conflict. Although it's unlikely that Immortal Emperor Tianong will attack me personally, I still have to be prepared in advance. I must go to the God Burial Enclosure and get that supreme body as soon as possible. Only then will I have the capital to contend with an immortal emperor. On the way, Su Fong sent a primordial spirit voice to Green Feather King. Where did Senior Kuan Yao go? After a while, Green Feather King said slowly, Senior has fallen. Although he already knew this would be the result, Su Fong still felt a burst of sorrow. Green Feather King continued, Senior knew that his time was up, and he didn't have much time left. Before he fell, he passed on his life's cultivation to this king with the Kuan Pung clan's forbidden technique. This king has strength close to that of a demon emperor, and also awakened several innate divine abilities of the Kuan Pung clan. It's Senior who helped me. Su Fong was shocked, and a feeling of admiration arose spontaneously. Su Fong, if there's a chance in the future, you must go to the ancient immortal demon battlefield. In a dangerous place in the immortal demon battlefield, there is the inheritance of the Kuan Pung clan. After getting the inheritance of the Kuan Pung clan, this king will go to the myriad worlds to fulfill Senior's unfulfilled wish. Green Feather King's primordial spirit voice suddenly became cold and full of hatred. It seems that Green Feather King not only obtained Kuan Yao's life's cultivation, but also inherited his last wish, which involved the Kuan Pung clan of the myriad worlds. However, Green Feather King didn't say it clearly, so Su Fong didn't ask. He must go to the ancient immortal demon battlefield. Su Fong asked Xian Yin Tian, Senior, Why did the heavenly law immortal realm suddenly attack you? After a while, Xian Yintian sighed, this immortal domain is in chaos. So, early in the sect, Xian Yintian had faintly received news that the Tranquility Emperor Mansion and the heavenly law immortal realm were going to attack the constellation of 9 heavens, not only because of the ethereal truth, but also because the leader of the Star Palace had become an immortal emperor. This made the Tranquility Emperor Mansion and the heavenly law immortal realm feel threatened, so they eliminated this hidden danger early. There was another reason, the demon race. Su Fang originally thought that the threat of the demon race was limited to the Demon Dawn competition, but the situation was far more serious than Su Fang expected. According to Xian Yintian, with the 3 changes of heaven and earth, the ancient peerless demons and big goblin of the immortal demon era were resurrected and began to enter the immortal domain. Some sects and cultivation families mysteriously disappeared, most of which were done by these resurrected peerless demons and big goblin. These resurrected demons and big goblin were incomparably powerful, and coupled with the suppression of spiritual energy in the world, the overall strength of the immortal Tao cultivators was also suppressed, making it difficult for them to resist. Therefore, the immortal Tao cultivators were tolerant and cowardly towards the demon race. It was also for this reason that Xuanxin was kidnapped by the demon race, but the higher-ups of the Clear Skies Myriad Scrolls Gate didn't rescue her. The personal grudge between Xian Yintian and Xian Lang, immortal monarch, was also one of the reasons. The catastrophe had already begun. In order to deal with it, the powerful forces of the Tranquility Emperor's residence and the heavenly Tao immortal domain began to annex other forces to strengthen themselves. Not only the Star Palace, but the Clear Skies Myriad Scrolls Gate and other major forces were also targets of annexation by the immortal Emperor forces, not to mention the other smaller forces. The demon race's invasion hasn't even begun, and the immortal Tao cultivators are already killing each other. Haha, this is the so-called righteous Tao? Su Fang sneered in his heart. He once again had a profound understanding of the law of the jungle. He also had a strong sense of urgency to improve his strength as soon as possible. Back to the ruins. The divine light in Xian Yintian's eyes fell on Xuanxin, who was inside the formation. Xuanxin, looks like she's about to break through the bottleneck. Xian Yintian's eyes were hale and hearty, and he was pleasantly surprised. Glancing at Su Fang, Xian Yintian's face darkened, and he snorted coldly. Boy, did you dual cultivate with Xuanxin? Su Fang was not embarrassed at all. This old man was really straightforward. Why did he even care about his granddaughter's dual cultivation? They were dual cultivation partners, so what was the fuss about dual cultivation? Xian Yintian said resentfully, I poured so much effort into Xuanxin, but in the end it was you who benefited. At this moment, a gust of shocking cold air soared into the sky from the formation, and this chill carried a pure, holy, and proud aura, which made people not dare to have the slightest blasphemy. Immediately after, a clear whistle sounded from Xuanxin's body, and the sound spread in all directions. His voice carried a supreme divine might as if a divine bird had descended upon the world, causing Su Fang to feel a wave of pressure. The great demons under his command lowered their heads one after another, with the intention to submit in their hearts. The bird-type great demons even directly prostrated themselves on the ground, trembling. A white Xian Guang circled around Xuanxin's body, and finally condensed into a translucent divine bird that burrowed into Xuanxin's body. Xuanxin, not only did she break through the bottleneck, but she also cultivated the true form of the Ice Phoenix. Chapter 1254. Ice Phoenix True Body? Su Fang asked, Senior, what is the Ice Phoenix True Body? The Ice Phoenix True Body can be called a supreme true body. It is extremely een and soft, and no one in the entire great immortal realm can compare. Xian Yintian raised his white eyebrows, revealing a proud expression. It turned out that when Fairy Xuanxin was just born, Her parents were chased by their enemies and fled to the dangerous black ice abyss. They happened to enter the birthplace of the ancient divine beast Ice Phoenix and obtained a piece of Ice Phoenix blood essence. At that time, her parents were seriously injured and knew they didn't have much time left. In order to preserve Xuanxin's life, they fused the Ice Phoenix blood essence with Xuanxin. Then both of them died. Xuanxin was saved by Xian Yintian, who arrived later. Fairy Xuanxin not only had the Ice Phoenix constitution since childhood, but Xian Yintian also specially went out of the immortal realm and found a supreme cultivation method suitable for Xuanxin's constitution in a great world. It was called the Profound Ice Heart Art. To cultivate the Profound Ice Heart Art, one must maintain a pure Tao heart. Because of Yen Xinxin, Xuanxin's pure Tao heart was left with a shadow, which was why she encountered a cultivation bottleneck and was unable to break through. At this time, Luo Yuyu's voice came from the depths of his body. Fairy Xuanxin does indeed have the aura of an ice phoenix. The ice phoenix is a type of divine beast, a mutant divine beast. Her constitution can be said to be unique in the immortal realm. Moreover, the profound ice heart art she cultivates is also a divine cultivation method passed down from the great immortal realm. However, at this critical moment, Luo Yuyu began to keep him in suspense. Su Fang hurriedly asked, "What, is there a flaw in Xuanxin's constitution and cultivation method? If it wasn't for your pure Yang Qi activating her Ice Phoenix aura during Yin and Yang dual cultivation, it would be very difficult for her to cultivate the Ice Phoenix true body. I've also heard of the profound Ice Heart art. In ancient times, there was a sect called Qing Xian Palace, which was an absolute power of the immortal realm. The profound Ice Heart art was Qing Xian Palace's supreme cultivation method. However, what Xuanxin cultivates should only be an outer chapter for disciples to cultivate. It's not complete. Countless sects were destroyed and their inheritances were destroyed. If you go to the immortal demon battlefield, you might be able to find the complete cultivation method. What's the use of the Ice Phoenix true body? Although the true form of the Ice Phoenix is extraordinary, I don't know what specific abilities it has. After all, it's too rare. However, its greatest use is that if you dual cultivate with her, it will bring unexpected benefits to both of your cultivations." Su Fang, you really need to thank me properly. Su Fang asked in surprise, "Why should I thank you?" "Ahem. Nothing." Law coughed a few times and never spoke again. It seems that Law still has something to hide. It is definitely not a good thing. Su Fang was puzzled. Suddenly, Su Fang thought of the mysterious woman in the primordial chaos sacred mirror. Law and the mysterious woman, one stayed in the blood jade, the other in the precious mirror, and they were both equally mysterious, incomparably powerful in the past. Not only did the two of them have so many things in common, Su Fang also came to the conclusion that they both liked to peep at women. Of course, the two of them would never have any other thoughts. With their experiences, most likely all the peerless beauties or peerless geniuses in the heavens would be treated as skeletons by them. If Law's body and primordial spirit are gathered, and the mysterious woman also comes out of the mirror, the two of them can be brought together. Su Fang chuckled sinisterly. Law seemed to sense something and couldn't help but shiver in the blood jade. Suddenly, Xian Yintian spat out a mouthful of blood, dyeing his white beard blood red. It turned out that he was chased all the way and didn't have time to recover. Now that he was rescued and suddenly saw that not only did Fairy Xuanxin break through the cultivation bottleneck that had bound her for many years, but also cultivated the true form of the Ice Phoenix, Xian Yintian was shocked and overjoyed. Su Fang hurriedly arranged for Xian Yintian to go into seclusion to recover. He specially took out an ancient spirit vein, as well as many yin-yang immortal sky pellets and spiritual items to heal injuries. He also arranged for experts like the Baimo monarch to guard him. Xian Yintian had a high position in the Clear Skies Thousand Scrolls door, but he had never received such treatment before. He was comforted and went into seclusion to recover. Su Fang was still worried and entered the formation where Fairy Xuanqin cultivated. Another 3 days later. Suddenly, there was a violent wave of cold air on Fairy Xuanqin's body, and then cold air hissed out, forming a layer of ice on her body. Law shouted from the depths of his body, "She just cultivated the true form of the ice phoenix, and it's hard for her to control it. Hurry up and use your pure yang qi to help her, or she'll be completely devoured by the true form of the ice phoenix and become an ice sculpture." Su Fang was about to use the power of the 9 suns when he suddenly got up and quickly created a formation around him. Then, he used a divine art to blind the blood jade from the outside world. Then, he used the power of the 9 suns in his body and used the Xian Guang to envelop Fairy Xuanqin, and a shocking amount of yang qi gushed out of his palms. He also used the Yang Immortal to enter Xuanqin's divine aperture along with the pure yang qi. Fairy Xuanqin's Yang Immortal was enveloped by a wave of cold yin qi, and looked frozen. Su Fang's Yang Immortal hugged Fairy Xuanqin's Yang Immortal tightly. The extreme yang qi and the extreme yin qi immediately merged, and the almost frozen Yang Immortal finally recovered. The situation in his body was almost the same as the divine aperture's ocean. As the 2 qi merged, Fairy Xuanqin's true form of the ice phoenix that had gone out of control gradually calmed down, and yin and yang merged. The 2 Yang Immortals hugged each other tightly. In an instant, not only Su Fang but also Fairy Xuanqin. A wonderful feeling that couldn't be described with words surged in their hearts. The extreme pleasure was like a tidal wave crashing into their hearts. The 2 of them only wanted to continue like this. Not only their Yang Immortal, the Taoist robes on their bodies were taken off at some point, and the beautiful yang qi and yin qi intertwined. Just as the 2 bodies were about to merge completely, Su Fang encountered an obstacle. Fairy Xuanqin's Yang Immortal, who was immersed in the endless beauty, suddenly frowned. Su Fang's body couldn't move forward or backward. Her Yang Immortal woke up. "What's wrong?" "It hurts," Su Fang lamented. "How about next time? Next time? This bad guy wants to make me feel pain again?" Fairy Xuanqin's Yang Immortal suddenly opened her mouth and bit Su Fang's shoulder. If it was her physical body, Su Fang wouldn't even frown if she lost a piece of her flesh. But when her Yang Immortal was bitten, a miserable scream sounded. It rushed straight in, breaking through all obstacles. After experiencing the initial pain and awkwardness, the 2 gradually became more intense. The love and passion in their hearts burst out, and they completely immersed themselves in it, enjoying the bliss of the world. At this moment, their souls and bodies completely merged. The 2 opened up everything, forgot all restraints, and accepted each other. They didn't possess each other, but gave their hearts to each other. Solitary yin doesn't grow. Solitary yang doesn't grow. This was the process of the development of all things in the world. Su Fang's pure yang qi and Fairy Xuanqin's yin qi attracted each other, fused, and mixed together, causing the 2's cultivation and bodies to undergo astonishing changes. Fairy Xuanqin's cultivation was constantly improving, and her ice phoenix true body was gradually stabilizing. Su Fang had just obtained a new body not long ago, and after fusing with Xuanqin's pure essence, it was as if it had been nourished by sweet dew, and became even more vigorous. The biggest change was his yin-yang Tao wheel. Not only were his 26 yang meridians more perfect and profound, his yin-yang Tao wheel also had a kind of endless divine power. After a long time, the 2's breathing suddenly became rapid, and a roar like that of a ferocious beast and a delicate cry like that of a phoenix sounded in the array at the same time. At the same time, they opened their eyes and looked at the delicate and flawless face that was as beautiful as a peach blossom. Su Fang hugged her tightly in his arms. Fairy Xuanqin, who usually kept people at arm's length, was like a little bird, unwilling to leave Su Fang's embrace, and quietly enjoying the tranquility and warmth after the storm. After settling down for a while, Xuanxin. Continue? Bad guy. Once again, they climbed to the cloud. Xuanxin. No. You tireless big goblin. I didn't say I wanted more. Could it be that you still want it? Bad guy. I mean, you should go see your grandfather. Fairy Xuanxin immediately stood up. What? When did my grandfather come? When you were cultivating in seclusion, I went out to save your grandfather. He was chased by the experts of the heavenly law immortal realm, but I rescued him and he's recovering in seclusion. You bad guy, think about it later. Fairy Xuanxin stood up, a Taoist robe wrapped around her body. The two of them appeared outside side by side. Many experts, big goblins, as well as many commanders and practitioners, came to greet Su Fang and Fairy Xuanxin, their mistress. Xian Xian Fairy had returned to her usual cold demeanor, but there was a hint of holiness and nobility about her. She was from the Gate of Thousand Scrolls in the clear sky, so she treated people with grace and generosity. She had the demeanor of a mistress of a force. In the following days, it was difficult for Su Fang to have the opportunity to dual cultivate with Fairy Xuanxin. Xian Yintian's injuries were very serious, and Fairy Xuanxin had been guarding him by his side. Su Fang also began to prepare for his trip to the god-burying enclosure. First, he arranged for the great monk, the ghost Dao's 5 freaks, and other experts to go to the immortal realm to inquire about the movements of various forces, as well as all the information about the god-burying enclosure. Then he began to cultivate. The catastrophe had already begun, and this trip to the god-burying enclosure would not be smooth. Strength was the most important. The focus of cultivation was not only the yellow spring blood sea, 9 yang 9 transformations, ethereal truth, but also the thunder of destiny, which was the key to activating the Xianming Thunder Seal. He also continued to integrate the Heavenly Dipper Creation Cauldron, Yellow Spring Reincarnation Sword, Demon Sealing Emperor's Heavenly Seal, and other powerful Dao artifacts to improve his ability to control them. The Broken Thunder Punishment Cauldron was also being integrated by Su Fang. At the same time, he also cultivated the immortal blood spirit in the Crucible Transformation Cauldron, but he did not refine it. Instead, he tried to use resurrected cultivators to refine Corpse Puppet. Second primordial spirit in the heavenly demon blood plate devoured night demon bit by bit, and its progress was getting faster and faster. Maintaining his cultivation state, Su Fang separated a part of his consciousness and came to the Yellow Spring Emperor bottle. Red Kite. It turned out that Su Fang wanted to ask about the boundless secular palace. Red Kite respectfully bowed to Su Fang. Red Kite greets young master Su Fang. Su Fang said indifferently, I haven't had time to see you since I rescued you from Demondon's stronghold. Let me ask you, how did you fall into the hands of the demon race? How was it that he didn't have time? Clearly, he wanted to take revenge for being hunted down in the past. Red Kite thought so, but he maintained a respectful expression. My young master has found the whereabouts of the boundless secular palace. He can enter it after 100 years of preparation. Red Kite went to the clear sky myriad scroll gate to find you, but I didn't expect to fall into the hands of demon path cultivators. I also didn't expect to be rescued by my young master in Demondon's stronghold. You have the whereabouts of the boundless secular palace? Su Fang was pleasantly surprised. The boundless secular palace was related to the origin of the purple chi law spirit, so he had to go there. Moreover, he had reached a deal with Gongyu, so he didn't expect to receive news so quickly. You can cultivate here for the time being. It won't be too late to let you out when I see your young master. Su Fang threw Red Kite some medicinal pills and then left the Yellow Spring Emperor bottle space. This woman was vicious and merciless, and the young master of the Divine Palace, Gong Yu, also had ulterior motives. Su Fang couldn't let her go back and reveal Su Fang's current strength to Gong Yu. Another 3 months or so passed. Chapter 1255. the God Burial Enclosure. It was a huge danger zone outside the immortal domain and was relatively close to the immortal Ao Great World. Of course, that was only relative. It would take an average cultivator 20 years to travel from the immortal Ao Great World to the God Burial Enclosure, not to mention the various dangers along the way. The ruins Su Fong was in were randomly found by the Kuan demon when he traveled through outer space. It was not too far from the God Burial Enclosure, and Su Fong could reach there in 5 or 6 years with the help of the feather fan. The God Burying Enclosure was much larger than the desolate swamp astral boundary. It was comparable to an immortal realm within a large world. Because it was barren and lifeless, and because no treasures had been found, very few people visited it. The news of the divine below immortal world had long spread throughout the immortal domain. It was said that an ancient supreme body was sealed in the God Burial Enclosure and attracted countless experts. After a series of in-depth exploration, the God Burial Enclosure's hidden secrets were revealed. It turned out that the God Burial Enclosure was a battlefield during the Great War of Immortals and Demons. Under the barren land there were ruins of the battlefield. In just a few decades, there were constantly cultivators who found Tao weapons, treasures, and cultivation methods left behind from the ancient battlefield under the God Burial Enclosure. Although most of them were incomplete, they were still very valuable. Countless experts from the 8 forces rushed to the God Burial Enclosure. Even if they could not obtain the supreme body, finding some ancient Tao weapons or cultivation methods would be a huge gain. However, the God Burial Enclosure had also become extremely dangerous. Other than the cultivators who killed for treasures and powerful demons and devils, the biggest threat was the influence of the changes in heaven and earth. Some immortal and demon cultivators who died during the Great War of Immortals and Demons were gradually resurrected and were extremely powerful. No one knew how many treasure-seeking cultivators had fallen because of this. These were not enough to pressure Su Fong. What made Su Fong feel even more pressured was that the God Burial Enclosure had been sealed off from the outside. Ordinary sects, family forces, and rogue cultivators were not even qualified to set foot in the God Burial Enclosure. The demon-sealing Imperial Heavenly Seal is in my hands. Even if you find the Supreme Ancient Body, you won't be able to lift the seal. The Supreme Body belongs to me, Su Fong, and no one can take it away. Su Fong wasn't too worried. When the time came, he would take it one step at a time. The God Burying Enclosure was so big that the 8 forces couldn't completely seal it off. When the time came, he would find a way to sneak into the God Burying Enclosure and borrow the Demon Sealing Emperor's heavenly seal senses to directly find the Supreme Body. This time, not only did they have to collect the map of the God Burial Enclosure, but they also had to investigate the various factions so that they could be prepared. At the same time, they also had to purchase the materials to refine the Yin-Yang Immortal Sky Pellet. On the ruins, with the help of Su Fong's abundant resources, Big Goblin and cultivators would break through every few days, causing the ruins to be extraordinarily lively. The supply of Yin-Yang Immortal Sky Pellets was running out. Su Fong selected more than 100 cultivators who understood the Tao of alchemy from the newly subdued cultivators to join his team of alchemists. Due to the fusion of the world fragments, several powerful big goblins under Su Fong improved rapidly, especially Bai Ling and Green Feather King. Bai Ling had the inheritance of the King of Chaos, so his improvement had been very fast. Green Feather had obtained the essence of the Kunyo and was about to break through to the Demon Emperor realm. At that time, he would have to go through a life and death tribulation to transform into a Demon Emperor. Buzz in the Crucible transformation world, Su Fong, who was in a state of cultivation, suddenly sensed a movement near the Yin-Yang Tao wheel. It turned out to be the multicolored stone egg. This thing was obtained from Fairy Xuanxin and was placed in the Yin-Yang Tao wheel by Su Fong to devour true qi, blood qi, and yang qi. He didn't know what kind of strange beast was bred in the stone egg, but there had been no movement for so many years. This time, a crack appeared on the outside of the stone egg. Although it was just a crack, the multicolored light released from it became even more dazzling. Moreover, he could clearly sense a powerful and vast life aura inside the stone egg. After thinking about it, Su Fang soon understood the reason. According to Luo, the multicolored Xian Guang came from the divine phoenix, and the power of transformation fused with the stone egg during its transformation. It was obviously not a coincidence that Fairy Xuanxin could obtain the stone egg in the Phoenix Transformation Canyon in the Huangze astral world, but it was because of her Ice Phoenix physique. When Fairy Xuanxin cultivated the Ice Phoenix true body, and when Su Fang dual cultivated with her, the stone egg also absorbed the Ice Phoenix aura, which caused a huge change. It's not that easy to make the strange beast inside the stone egg break out of its shell. However, this also proves that the life bred in the stone egg is extraordinary. It will definitely surpass the heavenly demon Venerable and the pig horse king. I'm really looking forward to what kind of strange beast it is. During this period of time, Su Fang's strength constantly increased. The Thunder Punishment Cauldron had already been completely fused with by Su Fang. He had the power of Thunder Punishment himself, and his Purple Qi Law Spirit had an amazing ability to control magic treasures. It wasn't difficult for him to fuse with a broken Thunder Punishment Cauldron in a short period of time. This was a supreme Dao tool that could help him cross tribulation, and he might even be able to use it to contend with Huang Lingyao's Cloud Sky Thunder Sword. He also had a deep understanding of the Thunder of Destiny, and could already activate the profound Underworld Thunder Seal. However, Su Fang didn't dare to rashly try it. Activating it would consume a massive amount of life aura, and the consequences were very serious. He could only keep it as a life-saving trump card. His body had been reborn, and he had also dual cultivated with Fairy Xuanxin. Astonishing benefits were gradually revealed. Not long after the 26th Yang Meridian was born, the 27th Meridian was also in the process of breaking through. He believed that he wasn't far from the third transformation of the 9 Yang 9 transformations. Before Demon Dawn, the primordial chaos sacred mirror had been used to refine the giant gluttonous demon into a pill. As Su Fang continued to fuse with it, his true energy also increased by leaps and bounds, constantly stepping into the peak of the feather immortal realm. All sorts of other benefits were also constantly revealed. More than a year later, Su Fang flew out of the crucible transformation. As soon as he appeared on the ruins, a burst of tribulation energy erupted from his body. The tribulation fire burned with a whoosh, and then a large amount of impurities overflowed from the outer layers and turned into ashes in the tribulation fire. The pure Yang true fire and the illusory fire cloud continued to burn, and his upper body turned into a fiery cloud. The Purple Qi Law Spirit and the Emperor's seal fused and condensed into a purple-gold aura that lingered around him. An astonishing pure Yang aura and a supreme ruler's aura made Su Fang look like a god. Many of his subordinates in the distance were shocked when they saw Su Fang break through. Not only were they shocked by Su Fang's improvement, but they were also in awe of Su Fang's explosive aura. It was unknown when Xian Yintian had come out of seclusion. He looked at Su Fang and couldn't help but praise. This kid is extraordinary and has great luck on him. Xuanxin, you should cultivate with him more in the future. Not only will it greatly improve your cultivation and the Ice Phoenix true body, but you'll also be affected by his luck. Fairy Xuanxin blushed, but she was reserved by nature and respected Xian Yintian very much. Even if she was angry, she wouldn't refute Xian Yintian's disrespectful words. She focused her attention on Su Fang again. Fairy Xuanxin's eyes were no longer cold, they were filled with infinite gentleness. The tribulation fire burned on Su Fang's body for a few days, then it gradually disappeared and an energy surged out of Su Fang's body. Feather Deity 4th Dao Realm. When his body calmed down, Su Fang suddenly got up and an astonishing energy burst out. The domineering aura of an overlord was completely revealed. Master is mighty. The powerful big goblin, masters and tens of thousands of commanders and cultivators shouted in unison. Su Feng, Xian Yintian and Fairy Xuanxin flew in the sky. Senior. Su Feng clasped his fists and bowed, exchanging a smile with Xian Xian Fairy. Their eyes were filled with affection. Xian Yintian snorted coldly. Then he said unhappily, "Call me Grandpa. Is it wrong for young Master Su Feng to call me that?" Su Feng was startled, then he quickly bowed and said, "Grandpa." From this moment on, Su Feng had two more close relatives. That's more like it. Xian Yintian laughed heartily. He was very happy. Su Feng sensed that Xian Yintian's injuries were far from healed, but he seemed to be fine for the time being. A celestial lord like Xian Yintian wouldn't be injured easily. Once he was injured, he might not be able to fully recover in thousands of years. I've recovered a bit now. This isn't a place to cultivate in seclusion. It's time to go back to the Gate of 10,000 Scrolls, Xian Yintian said in a deep voice. Although Xuanxin was a bit reluctant to part with Su Feng, she still said, "I'll go back with Grandpa." Su Feng got rid of the reluctance in his heart and nodded. Be careful of the Tiandao, immortal realm, and the demon race. Try not to leave the sect. I'll pick you up at the Gate of 10,000 Scrolls in a few days. The Tiandao immortal realm had already bared its fangs, so the Gate of 10,000 Scrolls wasn't peaceful. Su Feng was a bit worried. He had to establish his own force as soon as possible. At least, he had to have a place to stay. I'll wait for you. Take care. Xuanxin's voice was cold. Her short sentence was filled with endless anticipation and concern. The two lingered in the ruins for a few more days. During this time, Su Feng and Xuanxin also had intimate moments, reaching the peak of bliss time and time again. After saying goodbye, Su Feng looked in the direction where Xuanxin disappeared. He felt a heavy feeling on his body. Luo laughed from the blood jade in the depths of his body. What, you've tasted a woman and can't bear to part with her? Su Feng wasn't in the mood to joke. Luo, suddenly, I seem to understand the meaning of cultivation. Apart from becoming stronger and achieving great things, what else can it be? Don't tell me your Tao heart has been worn down by women? Luo, some of your ideas are very extreme. I think that apart from becoming stronger and becoming an unparalleled expert, there's also responsibility. Great strength is not only used to conquer enemies, but also to protect family and friends. I once had family and friends, but, Luo Yuyu said, then fell silent. For the sake of his people, Senior Kuan Yao passed down all of his cultivation and the essence of his body to the Green Feather King before he died. Su Feng sighed with emotion. Then, his eyes revealed determination. The catastrophe has already arrived. The immortal Tao is facing destruction. All the forces only know how to fight for power and profit, deceiving each other. I, Su Feng, am different from them. If I have enough strength, I will protect the entire human race and not be swallowed by the demon race. Su Julyuo said, My path doesn't suit you. You have your own path to walk. Maybe you're right, maybe you're wrong. Regardless of right or wrong, since you've already decided, don't go against your Tao heart. Persevere all the way. Let's go to the God Burial Enclosure. Chapter 1256. In the cold and desolate void. A figure appeared, stepping on a feather fan as he flew through the dangerous outer space like a bolt of lightning. This was Su Feng, who was hurrying towards the God-burying enclosure. A material continent appeared in the distance. Su Feng steadied himself and put away his feather fan. He released a fire attribute aura that also contained a bit of poisonous gas. He stimulated his mortal body to perfection and changed his appearance. Then, he put on a mask. Of course, this wasn't the ghostly Rakshasa, but the bronze mask he had once used in the Divine Wave Nation. The Yellow Springs Blood Sea had already been exposed at Demon Dawn. But the demons thought that Su Fang had already perished. Even if news of this spread to the righteous path influences, they would definitely think that Su Fang no longer existed in this world. Thus, when he went to the god-burying enclosure, Su Fang would definitely reveal his true identity. Instead, he would appear as a disciple of the poison flame cult of the divine wave immortal world that had already been destroyed by the demonic path cultivators. Up ahead is Serpentine City. Su Fang flew through the air, straight towards the material continent. This material continent was called the Serpentine Danger Zone because it was covered with deep blue rock. Because this place wasn't too far from the god-burying enclosure, countless cultivators had gone there in search of treasures these past years. Thus, there were trade associations that established cities here to supplement their cultivators. Of course, they had to collect a massive entrance fee, and the goods here were 3 times more expensive than in a great world. Passing through the turbulent air currents outside the material continent, Lin Ming arrived in front of Serpentine City. After paying 10,000 medium-grade immortal essence pills, he arrived at the main street of the city. He took out a rune symbol and sent out a primordial spirit voice, "Great monk, come see me." It turned out that several years ago, Su Fang had sent the great monk Shangde to Serpentine City to inquire about information in order to prepare for entering the god-burying enclosure. Although the great monk was greedy by nature and feared death, he was also incomparably slippery. He was suited for such matters. Moreover, the great monk's reputation wasn't small. After being subdued by Su Fang, besides in Demandon's stronghold, he hadn't revealed his identity. As long as he didn't run into any demons from Demandon's stronghold, he would be fine. The great monk soon responded, "Master, you've finally arrived." After waiting for a while in a restaurant, a monk wrapped in coarse cloth rushed over. Su Fang asked directly, "What's the situation in the god-burying enclosure?" The 8 forces continue to seal off the periphery of the god-burying enclosure, and they have already set up strongholds on the god-burying enclosure to search for the sealed supreme body. I haven't found anything yet, but I did find a lot of treasures. The monk hadn't wasted his time in the past few years, and he had a clear understanding of the various powers. Which forces? Almost all the top forces of the Tranquility Emperor's mansion, the Heavenly Law Immortal Realm, and the few big worlds nearby have been mobilized. There are also cultivators of the Demon Tao from other big worlds, such as the forces of Lord Shuiyu and Lord Daqin, but the Demon Clan hasn't shown up yet. After the initial battles, the various powers have reached an agreement. Each of them will occupy a continent in the God Burial Enclosure. Some of the weaker powers and rogue cultivators will find it difficult to enter. The God Burial Enclosure is so big, how can these powers seal it off? There are all kinds of dangers in the void around the God Burial Enclosure. It should be caused by the void shattering during the Great Immortal Demon War. Master will know when you see it. Even experts of the Great Elder's level don't dare to barge in. The various powers only need to occupy some relatively safe places to seal off the God Burial Enclosure. These powers are really domineering. Su Fang smiled coldly. The great monk quickly showed off. But don't worry, Master, there are also some great powers recruiting experts in Serpentine City. I just passed the selection of the Great Qin Immortal Realm's Qin clan and joined the Qin clan. When the time comes, I'll bring Master into the God Burial Enclosure. Great Qin Immortal Realm, Qin clan? Su Fang searched his memories and immediately remembered. The Great Qin Immortal Realm was also a big world in the Immortal Realm, and it was very far away from the Immortal Ao Great World. The Great Qin Immortal Realm was also called the Thunder Qin Immortal Realm or the Great Qin Empire because this big world was actually a unified empire, and it was famous in the Immortal Realm for its lightning-type divine art. In terms of overall strength, the Tranquility Emperor's residence and the Heavenly Tao Immortal Realm were not inferior. However, the Great Qin Immortal Realm's Immortal Emperor Lei Qin was slightly weaker than the Tranquility Emperor and Tian Ong Immortal Emperor, and his reputation was also not as good as these two supreme immortal emperors. The great Qin young master Su Fang knew, and the expert by his side, Qin Xianfeng, were also from the great Qin immortal realm's royal Qin clan. Moreover, the strange fire, thunder fury explosive flame, was also in a dangerous place in the great Qin immortal realm. The great monk brought Su Fang to an inn where the Qin clan recruited cultivators. At the entrance of the inn, they were stopped by a Taoist robe with lightning Tao patterns. It was an expert from the great Qin immortal realm. "This is my token." The great monk took out a token and flashed it. The great Qin immortal realm's expert scanned the token with his divine eyes, then looked at Su Fang and said imposingly, "Who is this?" "This is my junior. He will stay with me for a few days. When we go to the god burial enclosure, he will leave." The great monk replied. He was quite bold to act as Su Fang's senior. Su Fang followed the great monk into the inn. A mocking voice sounded, "Great monk, you went out for a trip. Why did you bring your son back?" There were many cultivators recruited by the great Qin immortal realm in the courtyard of the inn. The one who spoke was a burly man with a fierce expression. His words caused a wave of wanton laughter. The great monk Shangda was furious. Su Fang, however, remained calm and collected. He asked the great Qin immortal realm's expert at the entrance, "Can I join the great Qin immortal realm as long as I have a token?" The man was stunned. Those who pass the great Qin immortal realm selection will receive a token. If you can get a token from someone else, you will be qualified to serve the great Qin immortal realm. Before he could finish, Su Fang pointed at the burly man, "Hand over your token and scram." Everyone was stunned. Then, they burst into laughter again. The burly man's cultivation had reached the fourth Tao realm of the world immortal realm. He could be considered a grand elder. Although his strength was not the highest among the recruited cultivators, he cultivated a strange divine ability called the Barbarian Elephant Heavenly Armor Technique. Once he activated it, even the sixth Tao realm of the world immortal realm would find it hard to shake him. How high was Su Fang's cultivation base? The fourth Tao realm of the Feather immortal realm was a whole realm lower than the burly man. How dare he provoke this person? Was he not courting death? What a domineering brat. Don't think that you can be so arrogant in front of me just because you have a big monk as your father. See if I don't cripple you. The burly man let out a hideous grin as he burst out with a green mystic light. A layer of coarse leather armor quickly condensed on his skin, making him look like a ferocious and berserk giant elephant. With a shocking aura, he charged at Su Fang. This person attacked Su Fang not only to punish Su Fang, but also to show off. He hoped to win the favor of the great Qin immortal realm. He might even join the great Qin immortal realm in the future, and have a bright future. He burst out his strength not to attack Su Fang, but to guard against the big monk. Su Fang's feather immortal realm cultivation base was not worth mentioning at all in his eyes. He was like a weakling. Unexpectedly, the big monk had no intention of attacking. His oily face was full of complacency. "Brat, kneel down and beg for mercy. Otherwise I will crush your balls." The burly man charged at Su Fang. His fan-like hand carried a powerful aura. It was as if he could smash a mountain with a slap. Puff! Su Fang did not release his aura. Instead, he suddenly opened his mouth and spat out a black flame. This flame was condensed from Su Fang's illusory fire cloud, and it also contained the Ghoul Eater's poison. Both were extremely powerful, and when the two were combined, their power was multiplied. "You think your little poison flame can break through my divine ability?" The burly man sneered disdainfully. He had no intention of dodging. Unexpectedly, in the next second, chi, chi, chi. The burly man's aura was burned and corroded by the poison flame. It lasted for a moment before it was broken. The poison flame wrapped around his face and quickly spread to his body. The divine ability that was said to be difficult for grand elder-level experts to break quickly became riddled with holes. The burly man fell to the ground and struggled, letting out a series of blood-curdling screams. After a while, he stopped moving and no longer made a sound. Su Fang walked up and took the burly man's storage ring. Sure enough, he found the Great Qin Immortal Realm's command medallion inside. "Sir, do I have the qualifications to join the Great Qin Immortal Realm?" Su Fang asked the Great Qin Immortal Realm expert. The latter nodded repeatedly, his eyes filled with shock. The other cultivators were also surprised and shocked. Buzz, it turned out that the Heaven's secret life shrinking technique had sensed a familiar aura coming from the sky. Su Fang's eyebrows furrowed. Immortal Qin? An old man came to the courtyard. This person was dressed in a black robe and had white hair. There were some strange fangs and stone beads hanging from his body. He was the crazy Immortal Qin who had once tried to snatch the multicolored stone egg from Fairy Xian Xian. Immortal Qin's strength was unfathomable. When Su Fang first saw him, he thought that he was only at the same level as Immortal Changgu. Now, he could see that this person was at least at the fourth Dao realm. The main reason was that this person had domineering thunder technique. His strength was close to that of an immortal emperor, and even a sixth Dao realm expert might not be his match. Hearing the description of the Great Qin Immortal Realm expert, Immortal Qin's eyes flashed with lightning. He looked up and down at Su Fang. Poison flame? There don't seem to be many experts who can control poison flames in this immortal realm. I heard that there was a poison flame sect in the Divine Billow Immortal Realm, but there weren't many experts. Su Fang cupped his fists and said, "I am a disciple of the poison flame sect. Because the sect was destroyed by the cultivators of the demonic mountain, I have been wandering around." Immortal Qin nodded and said in a majestic voice, "Although your cultivation is not high, you have the poison flame divine ability. It will be useful in the god burial enclosure. If you perform well, you will not only receive various rewards, but it is also possible for you to join the Great Qin Immortal Realm's Qin clan." The other cultivators who were recruiting looked envious. Immortal Qin was one of young Master Qin's people. To be able to get his recognition and join the Qin clan, this kid was really lucky. Su Fang was ecstatic. "Thank you, sir." He became an expert recruited by the Great Qin Immortal Realm's Qin clan. After staying at the inn, Su Fang asked the monk to guard outside while he entered the Crucible Transformation Realm to cultivate. After staying in Serpentine City for 3 months, Immortal Qin left Serpentine City with more than 300 recruited experts and went straight to the god burial enclosure. 1 year later, a gigantic and boundless floating object silently appeared in void space. It stretched as far as the eye could see, and layers of star fog were stirred up by a formless power, forming violent star fog currents around the continent. This also covered the continent with a mysterious and terrifying veil. Immortal Qin led the recruited experts and flew towards the area controlled by the Great Qin Immortal Realm. Buzz, suddenly, some Dao runes from the Heaven's secret life shrinking technique appeared in his mind. He actually sensed a few familiar auras. Young Master Qin, Dragon Xiaojun, Huang Lingyao, how did the Heavenly Dao Immortal Realm and the Great Qin Immortal Realm come together? Chapter 1257. In the void outside the god-burying enclosure, many experts surrounded young Master Qin, Long Xiaojun, and Huang Lingyao, preparing to enter the god-burying enclosure. Huang Lingyao didn't seem to have changed much. There was a supreme arrogance in her coldness, as if she was the only existence in this void. Even Long Xiaojun and young Master Qin next to her paled in comparison. Su Fangda's perfect eye power could see sparkling sword qi swimming in Huang Lingyao's deep and empty aura. Clearly, she had fused with the Yunshao Thunder Sword to an astonishing degree. What surprised and shocked Su Fang even more was that there was a dragon qi on her body. There were actually dragon shadows coiling in the sword qi. Huang Lingyao's Dao body is indeed extraordinary. Not only can she subdue the Yunshao Thunder Sword, but she can also absorb Dragon Qi. Her Dao body's ability makes it so that even I can't see through her cultivation. I reckon that if she uses the Yunshao Thunder Sword, she can easily kill a powerful Grand Elder, and even pose a great threat to immortal emperors. This woman's growth is simply astonishing. Su Fang was secretly shocked. Luo's voice came from the depths of his body. Huang Lingyao is indeed a genius, and her Dao heart is ruthless, scheming, and unfathomable. Do you feel pressured? Su Fang replied proudly, pressured? Just a little. But she's growing quickly. Am I not? My physical body has been reborn in the power of the Thunder Punishment, and with the Underworld Reincarnation Sword and the Xianming Lightning Scroll, I can completely suppress this woman, let alone my second primordial spirit. Why should I be afraid of her? It's just that she has the heavenly Dao immortal realm behind her, so she can't find a chance to attack. Otherwise, I would definitely kill her. Huang Lingyao seemed to sense something. Her body suddenly stopped, and her cold gaze suddenly swept over. Su Fang quickly looked away, and at the same time, secretly used the Heaven's Secret Life shrinking technique to conceal his aura. Junior Sister Huang, what's wrong? Long Xiaojun asked with concern. When the fourth sun rose, this person was affected by the changes in heaven and earth. Her dragon qi went berserk, and she almost lost control. Now, she didn't seem to have any abnormalities. Instead, her cultivation improved. Nothing. Huang Lingyao retracted his gaze and said faintly, "The cultivators recruited by the Great Qin Immortal Realm this time are somewhat uneven in strength. I'm afraid they won't be of much use in the ancient Immortal Tomb." Great Qin's young master smiled elegantly. These people were only recruited to clean up the outskirts of the Immortal Tomb, so of course they won't be of much use. Don't worry, Miss Huang. This time, the Qin clan and the Heavenly Law Immortal Realm will join hands and sweep through the God-burying enclosure. We'll get the Supreme Body in one fell swoop and make the Tranquil Emperor's mansion and the other 8 forces return empty-handed. The voices gradually faded away as the group of people stepped into the thick gray clouds and disappeared without a trace. Only then did Su Fang pay attention to the void around the enclosure of gods. The enclosure of buried gods was shrouded in gray clouds and looked somewhat similar to the astral plane of Huangze. However, there were not only lightning and thunder in the gray clouds, but also space-time rips and vortexes. They looked like the mouths of monsters. It was a shocking sight. There were also space-time rips and vortexes that were pulled into a large-scale state of distortion. These were all caused by the shattering of the void during the Great War of the Immortals and Demons. Under Qin Xianfeng's lead, the many cultivators who had been recruited followed a relatively simple path and slowly flew towards the enclosure of gods. Su Fang sensed that there was almost no trace of heaven and earth spirit qi in the surroundings. The energy was chaotic and there was a deathly aura. With so many factors added together, the outside of the enclosure of gods was filled with danger. Therefore, there weren't many safe areas that could enter the enclosure of gods, and they were all controlled by the 8 forces. It took about 10 days to pass through the gray clouds and nebulae. Only then did the clear appearance of the enclosure of gods appear in front of them. The god burial enclosure was an extremely vast continent. As far as the eye could see, it was boundless and desolate. There were also mountain ranges, forests, and rivers. However, it gave off a deathly feeling, as if it was a huge graveyard. A godly might like that of a death god enveloped the entire continent, causing cultivators to be shackled and their cultivations to be severely suppressed. Among these recruited cultivators, some of the weaker ones even found it difficult to fly. Their cultivations were suppressed by 2 or 3 small realms. After entering the enclosure of gods, they flew for another half a month before finally arriving at a barren plain called Death Return Plain. The enclosure of gods was now occupied by 8 powerful forces. The Immortal Emperor's forces occupied the largest area. They set up camps and searched for treasures left behind from the ancient war of immortals and demons. The most important thing was of course the place where the supreme body was sealed. The Great Qin Celestial World and Heaven Dao Celestial World's camps had more than 10,000 cultivators. Most of them were Xian immortals, disciples of the two forces. There were also some recruited cultivators. Although there weren't many, they were all feather immortals and world immortals. According to Qin Xianfeng, the two forces had more than 10 camps like this on the enclosure of God. Su Fang used his peak power and felt a shocking aura. He couldn't help being shocked. In the camp, other than the 6 Dao Realm elders, there was an 8 Dao Realm Celestial Emperor. He was even stronger than Long Lingjun. From the lightning element aura he should be an Celestial Emperor from the Great Qin Celestial World. Although I have the Demon Sealing Emperor Heavenly Seal, the enclosure of gods is too big. I won't be able to find it in a short time. I'll stay here for now and familiarize myself with the enclosure of gods, Su Fang thought. About 2 months later, Immortal Qin gathered all the cultivators who were recruited and gave the order to the upper echelons of the Great Qin Celestial World to enter an ancient immortal tomb. As for what the mission was, he did not go into detail. Su Fang had already used his peak power to find out why the two forces were here. It turned out that the Great Qin Celestial Realm and the Heavenly Dao Celestial Realm had discovered an ancient spatial formation under the Land of Death that led directly to an ancient tomb. After many years of searching, they determined that an expert of the immortal path, who had fallen during the Great War of the Immortals and Demons, was buried in the tomb. Before the Heavenly Dao Celestial World came to the God Burial Enclosure, they sent experts to the God Billow Immortal World to collect the blood essence of the God Billow Nation's imperial family. With the blood essence as the source, they used supreme abilities to sense the powerful physical body of the God Billow Nation's imperial family ancestor. The tomb under the enclosure of gods resonated with the blood essence of the God Billow Nation's imperial family. The possibility of a supreme physical body being sealed in the tomb wasn't high, but it was at least an imperial family ancestor of the God Billow Nation. There would definitely be treasures inside, and they might even be able to find clues about the supreme physical body. The cultivators of the two forces and the recruited experts came to a place 1,000 miles away from the camp. The immortal emperor of the Qin family, Huang Lingyao, Long Xiaojun, and young Master Qin all moved out. A huge pit more than 100 feet deep had been dug into the ground, revealing an altar at the bottom with complicated and mysterious immortal marks. Su Fang slightly activated the Heaven Secret Life shrinking technique. Buzz, all of a sudden, he sensed an aura. Su Fang was pleasantly surprised to find that the aura was the Demon Sealing Emperor's heavenly seal, which was resonating with the Heaven Secret Life shrinking technique. Could it be that the immortal tomb is really connected to that supreme physical body? Su Fang was extremely surprised in his heart. Recruiting cultivators, get down first. The immortal emperor of the Great Qin Celestial World said in a majestic voice. This person had tall eyebrows and a square face, and he had a dignified aura. The recruited cultivators all had extraordinary strength and were all experts who had experienced countless storms. How could they not understand the Great Qin Celestial World's intentions? They were clearly going to use these recruited cultivators as cannon fodder to explore the way. Suddenly, they all hesitated. The great monk secretly transmitted the voice of his nascent spirit, "Master, this ancient tomb must be incomparably dangerous. Going in first is equivalent to courting death. What should we do?" Su Fang replied indifferently, "It's okay. Just act according to the circumstances." The great monk knew that Su Fang had all kinds of supreme divine abilities. Seeing him so calm, he was relieved. "What? You've taken the Qin family's benefits, but in the end, you don't want to do anything?" The immortal emperor of the Qin family raised his eyebrows. Lightning seeped out of his eyes, and an astonishing lightning-attributed divine might enveloped the recruited cultivators. An expert said loudly, "Although we've taken the Qin family's rewards, they didn't say that we're here to die. At most, we don't want the rewards and just leave. You think you can come and go as you please? What do you think the Qin family is?" The immortal emperor of the Qin family didn't even finish his words and didn't make any hand seals. A violent lightning technique with an astonishing destructive aura bombarded the person who spoke. This person didn't even have time to activate his defense and was instantly turned into ashes. Such a powerful lightning-attributed divine ability, such a domineering Qin family. The recruited cultivators naturally didn't dare to object anymore. They all flew towards the altar below. As soon as the cultivator at the front got close to the altar, the immortal mark on it exploded with twisted light. It formed a spatial airflow and swept this cultivator away. Spatial formation? Strange, since it's an immortal tomb, why would there be a spatial array set up specifically to allow people to enter and rob tombs? Su Fang was very surprised. Luo's voice came from the blood jade. This is a one-way spatial formation. Obviously, this immortal tomb was built in the depths of the god burial enclosure. However, even in the ancient times, cultivators with spatial formations were very rare. It's indeed very strange to build one outside an immortal tomb. This immortal tomb isn't simple. Soon, it was Su Fang's turn. The moment he entered the formation, the monk grabbed Su Fang's arm and was sucked into the formation along with Su Fang. A spatial twisting force wrapped around his body, and he crazily fell. With a sense of weightlessness, Su Fang's cannonball fell to the ground and shattered a large circle of rocks on the ground. Luckily, Su Fang's body was stronger than before. He was only shaken to the point that his blood was churning. Even the monk was shaken to the point of vomiting blood. The other cultivators who went in first were even seriously injured. When he sat up, he found that he was in a spacious cave. There were rocks all around him, and from some of the cracks in the rocks there was a cold wind blowing in. As Luo said, this was the depths of the god burial enclosure. More than 1,000 feet in front of him, there was a stone door between the cold rocks. He didn't know what was behind it. Lifelike stone statues stood guard in front of the tomb. Judging from their clothes, they were cultivators of the ancient immortal Tao. Beneath his feet was a thick layer of bone ash. There were also bones that hadn't completely weathered, tattered robes, and even Tao weapons. Buzz buzz. Tao runes suddenly surged in his mind. Su Fang released his senses and found the presence of the demon sealing emperor's heavenly seal on the stone door and inside it. There's a seal left behind by the demon sealing emperor's heavenly seal on the stone door. It's the same inside the stone door. What's buried in this immortal tomb? Su Fang was puzzled.